welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
All right.
Okay.
We're on book 23.
Okay.
The Pretender.
Yes, we are. And this is the first book of our season 3.
Yes, we are starting a new season after ages of non-books. We're finally back to some Animorphs.
The filler is over, and we're here to give you what you're here for, which is books.
Sure is. And even before these books, before the filler, we had 3 episodes of non-main Animorphs characters. So we're finally back to some people we know.
And arguably before that was the David trilogy, which, even though it had our regular cast in it, was kind of like 3 episodes of a very special episode.
Yeah. We're back to the one-shots.
Yes, it's been a long time since we've just had kind of a classic. Although, we'll get into this book. There's maybe some aspects that you could argue whether or not they are classic.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels a little bit like we're back. We're back into the normal scheme of things.
We're back, baby.
Like the dinosaurs themselves.
Hey, gotta love us. We're the podcasters.
Okay, that's not the dinosaurs that I meant.
Hey, but this is a different... they're both dinosaurs. They're from the 90s both, right?
Yeah, but the ones you're thinking of weren't back.
No, but they were both dinosaurs from the 90s.
Okay, they might have been late 80s, actually. Probably 90s. No, it had to be 90s, because they're... but yeah, anyway.
Right,
kind
you
of
can
a
just call me
Littlefoot
sensibility.
Okay, well, that would make sense with what I know about your penis.
Because it's really big, right?
Okay. I just want to say before we get started, like you said, book 23, The Pretender. Mm-hmm. Jim Carrey, not a fan of this one. He's a little on edge around this book.
November 98.
Oh, November 1998?
Yes.
Is when it was released. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe the month we're in, actually.
Ooh, maybe it is.
We're close.
We're close, yeah.
We're somewhere in that range.
I don't know. I don't remember if this is going to come out on like the 1st or if it's going to come out on
like
the 30th.
What do you mean you don't remember? It's like we film these 3 days ahead of time, so we know exactly when it's coming out.
Well, but I don't know like what day it is and what day. You know how it is.
Yeah.
What day is the Tuesday? I don't know.
Right, I understand. It's hard to keep track. Like Tobias, we lose track of months and days in our podcast form.
Right. Yes.
We'll get into that later. But I just wanted to say also, I know Jim Carrey, not a fan of this book, but you know who loves this book?
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift. You know why?
Why is that?
Well, I don't even know if you remember her song "Long Live," but she sings, "I was screaming, long live all the magic we made, and bring on all the pretenders. One day,
that's kind of a deep
be
cut,
remembered."
Right there.
Well, if you're a fan, it's not that deep. If the fans love that song, but it didn't get radio play. No.
I just mean, if you're trying to think of what Taylor Swift song includes the word pretender.
Well, for me, it was instantaneous. I couldn't read this book and not think about that song.
Okay. Well, but you don't have a full-length parody for me, do you?
No, and this won't be the first time this episode when you'll be disappointed that I don't have a full-length parody for you.
Who boy?
But look, we're busy. We've been busy. I haven't had the time for that kind of a thing.
That's true.
Okay. Should we start talking about the cover or no?
Well, so I think it's important to...
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. I mentioned this before we did all the filler, but starting with this book, we are going to start getting ghostwriters. So this is the first ghostwritten book.
This is big.
This is big. This was, and she writes them on the dedication page. So if you go to the dedication page, it says the author would like to thank Michael Mates for his help in preparing this manuscript. Now, this is clearly a pseudonym. I did look to see if there was anyone who just was Michael Mates, and no, there's like a conservative British politician. It's not that Michael Mates. Um, but somebody wrote this
Um,
who
so
wasn't K.A.
I think we know who wrote it.
Oh, do we?
I'm surprised you didn't. I thought you were going to say this.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
Uh-oh. You're really ooh, the listeners are going to really
Uh-oh.
like lose confidence in your ability as the Animorphs expert
Oh
on this
man, yeah.
podcast.
Clearly they are.
Well, I remembered you saying that this was the first ghost
Yeah,
writing.
yeah.
And I wanted to know, like, so I looked at Seropedia. I wanted to
Ah,
figure
okay. I
out.
didn't actually look at Seropedia. That's my problem.
You think that would be the first place you'd look?
You would think that, but fuck Seropedia.
Yeah, I mean, good point. But anyway, I went on there. I control F'd Ghost because I didn't want to read
Mm-hmm.
any spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
There were actually, yeah. And the truth may shock you.
Oh man, tell me, tell me.
Let me see if I can find the exact. Just to make sure I don't get this right. Yes, they say while this is the first book to receive a ghost written credit, it is not actually the
What?
first ghost written book.
Holy shit.
There's a little bit of a twist here. So on
Uh-huh.
technicality, because Michael Mates is a pseudonym,
Mm-hmm.
it's a pseudonym for Michael Grant.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I had assumed that since he had helped her ghostwrite these books before in the past, or at least co-authored, I assumed that, since we're giving credits now, this was somebody else, but I did not know that.
Yeah, well, so for listeners who are new and don't know, Michael Grant is the husband of Kay Applegate, who,
Yes.
as we are led to believe, helped write many, if not all, of these books.
Yeah, to varying degrees of help, I think he helped, quote unquote, on all of them, but,
And
what
what
does
I'm
that mean?
confused about is, according to Seropedia, she thanks him as this in this dedication as an inside joke. So I don't know if that means this was like the first book he really did all by himself without her, or was it just another regular book? I don't know.
I mean, I was under the assumption that this is around the point where she switched over to mainly ghostwriters, because Everworld was starting around this time. So she started another series. And so I just presumed it was this one, but I will say I know the next book was not ghostwritten. So possibly this just wasn't ghostwritten and they start after that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's strange. I feel like I read that and I was like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Hmm.
So badly want a straight up answer to how these books were written. It's driving
Hmm.
me crazy.
Yeah, well, this is why we need future KA who isn't all gummed up with time juice to tell us the answers to these questions.
I know. We keep trying to, now that she's back in the present, she's a little too important for us.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to get her when she was less famous.
I mean, I will say I do like the writing in this book a lot, and there are a couple points that I will bring up where it does feel a little bit more like the classic Tobias angst is being written from more of a male perspective for me.
Mm.
And maybe I'm just making that up because I saw the ghost written name, or maybe there's something to the idea that Michael Grant was significantly more involved than he normally is, and this is kind of more of his spin on Tobias's character.
I do agree with you, and I don't. Maybe we'll save this for later, or towards the end of the episode. But
Hmm.
I do think as I was reading it, it does. There's something I don't know if I can quite put my finger on it right now, but I do feel like there's something a little different about the writing of this book. But I don't know how much of that is just that the Tobias books always kind of feel that way,
Hmm.
or if it is more of a result of Michael Grant's work. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if I read there are times where I'm just like, oh yeah, this feels like it's written differently, or like with season 1 and season 2, where I'm like the writing feels like it changed, and maybe if I were more literary and read more books, I would have the language to describe what I was experiencing. But I'm not. I'm an idiot loser, so I just have to be like, oh yeah, it doesn't feel the same.
That's right. We're just a couple of Becks. We're no Tobys.
Right. That's right. The listeners don't know about Beck yet, but you will.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that. I get that. I always feel like when I talk about, this podcast is a real exercise for me because when I talk about movies or video games, I feel more of a level of confidence. Like I can articulate how I feel about them in a way
Hmm.
that's somewhat intelligent. I also feel the same way about music. I love music, but there's a lot of albums where it's like if you ask me why I do or don't like an album, I kind of
Hmm.
I don't know because it's not something I talk about, so I don't that part of my brain doesn't get exercised. But this
Hmm.
podcast is building us up to be better book discussers.
Yes. Yes, that's right. By the time we're done with this, we're going to be the Greg Turkingtons of books over here. We'll be the buffs who can explain to you everything you need to
Yeah,
know.
I kind of think you already are, but
Oh wow, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, another thing I'll say, I am curious again, talking kind of about the writing process. I wonder how it was worked out that a Tobias book would follow the David trilogy, and if that was intentional or mainly because I'm just thinking if it had happened like one book later and the last David book was a Tobias narrative, I feel like that would kind of suck because that feels like you're wasting a Tobias book because you have to use him to wrap up this storyline,
Hmm.
you only get his books every so often, so you kind of want them to explore him more.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that was just sheer coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from that perspective, it does seem like it seems clearly like there was some choice to end it on a Rachel book because, we don't really explore much of Marco's character or like story with
No.
regards to his mom or whatever in his book. And same with Jake, like we see a little bit more development as he's getting more hardcore, but it's not like a deep dive into his character. But in Rachel, there's a lot of exploration of like who she is tied directly into the story, and that does feel kind of like, what am I doing with these characters? Okay, I got a good idea for Rachel. Let's end on Rachel, and the other characters they'll just tell their parts. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe wasn't intentional, but it feels like it well could have been.
All right. Yeah. Like maybe she even had this idea, but was like, oh, I was going to put it here, but let's save it because I don't want to like push it 2 books off so that we can end on Rachel or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean, you
want
don't
to
want to.
know.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to end on a Tobias. I do think I agree that it doesn't make sense to put it over a Tobias or an Axe book because you have so little time to do anything with those characters.
Yeah. They're also a little more, well, Axe especially, like he is also a new guy. I don't know. Would have been interesting to see his perspective. It doesn't matter though. It's the history happened the way it happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing can change that.
That's right. Except for the Elemist.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, are we ready to talk about this cover?
Yeah, please let's talk about it.
All right. So we have Tobias, the bird,
Right.
and like a
Right.
little ghost version of Tobias, the boy, behind him. And then the bird is turning into a bunny rabbit. You see.
Yeah, so this is new.
Mm-hmm.
This is before it has just been either a boy to a hawk or a hawk to a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is this the first time we've seen him not just turning into a hawk on a cover?
Yeah, no, the other two ones were both Tobias
Right.
into Hawk or Hawk into Boy or whatever. Um, I believe in one of the other books I may have lied a little bit. I told a little fib where I said, "Yeah, believe it or not,
What?
we might see a lot of Tobias going to a hawk or a boy." But I knew that wasn't true because now that he's got his morphing powers back, he can go between hawk and other animals.
I'm done. You fucking lied to me.
Yeah, yeah. You can't trust me.
Yeah, and this is where so it's I I mean, it's just looking at this cover
Hmm.
again, it's one of those things where if you're not familiar with this
Yeah.
series, it's already weird to see someone turn into an animal, but now you're like, hold on, is the boy turning into the hawk, or is the boy the ghost? Is he watching from the background? Why is the hawk a rabbit? There's so many things happening here.
Yeah, is Animorphs just about animals that can turn into other animals? And then there's like a boy, and maybe that's his familiar or something?
Right? Yeah, he's like some kind of wizard. Yeah, it's quite strange, and this is our first time now we actually get to see a dual animal hybrid,
Yeah.
which is a little bit more fun. I'm kind of sick of these. Okay, I get it. Now it looks like a person and a gorilla. Now we get to see something very different.
Yeah. No, I really like, especially this middle form. It does remind me of a kind of like, stupid cryptid like the furry trout or the jackalope or something.
Yeah. What it makes me want to do is, I don't know, hear me out. Maybe
Uh-huh.
this sounds a little bit crazy,
I'm
but
hearing.
could be like kind of a delicacy if I were the Andalites, maybe
Hmm.
what I would use morphing technology for is I would give, for instance, like here, I would give, maybe I'd pick a chicken because that's a little tastier. Maybe
Hmm. Hmm.
I'd give a chicken morphing powers, and you somehow got to induce the chicken, you get it to acquire a
Hmm.
rabbit, and you something like maybe you play a movie or something, you figure out the science to get the chicken to morph into a rabbit. You have a machine or some kind of, maybe it's gas or like just a needle you can use. You kill the chicken halfway between the two morphs. Now you have a delicious meat hybrid you can cook up that's half chicken, half rabbit. That's some kind of like a very special meal that you can't get anywhere else that I think would be a very expensive, gourmet, sought after dish.
That's a very human thing to think. I think Andalites are generally are going to have this thing where they're like, human food is so good, but like you guys are barbaric for doing any of the things you do.
Well, I once they get a hand
Yeah, I
on
mean, once
that
they start,
morphing power.
yeah, once they get that ground beef in them, like now we got to start making these hybrids here.
Yeah, I'm just saying the middle one looks like it has a nice juicy fat leg that I want to take a
Mm.
bite out of. That was all.
Oh yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
It does really look like a Pokemon, doesn't it?
It kind of does, yeah, or at least like a Detective Pikachu variant that's a little too detailed and realistic.
Is that a Howlucha or something?
Yeah, like yeah, that's a Detective Pikachu Halucha, only with rabbit ears.
Right. Rabbit ears. Hammer down. Okay.
There's
But
quotes on
that's
these.
fun. He's turned. Oh yeah, there are. Yeah. Was it? Oh yeah, it sure is a quote.
Yeah, so on the front here it says Tobias is about to discover the secrets of his past.
I mean, straight up, like you're reading that and you're going, "Oh, this is a big book."
Yeah, yeah. Now, in the David trilogy, they took a turn to start, like saying, like, "Oh, here's what's going to happen in this book," instead of Rachel's turning red or whatever. Um, but in
Yeah,
this one,
Pixar.
they've kept with that. They haven't, done some stupid like I don't know, hop along Tobias. I don't know what the fuck. Or no, that's the inside cover. The inside cover still is like that. On the outside, it would be like I don't know. uh, We could all use a little change.
Right. Yeah, I think that's 8 of them.
Yeah, I said, yep. What a concept.
Okay,
R.I.P.
come on. A man is dead. Please show some respect. So yeah, I think they must have got the research back from David and been like, oh, maybe it sells better if we entice people.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty sure that does not continue, but maybe I'm just misremembering.
mm,
I don't know the covers that well.
maybe not all of these books have a plot that is worth enticing.
That's also potentially true. Yes.
Like this one, people want to know about Tobias. They know. So
Yeah.
all after reading the Andalite Chronicles, people have been waiting for what, a year maybe for a follow up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Tobias shows up, they're like, "When's he gonna find out?"
I know. We gotta see him find out.
And here it
Isn't
is.
it like so like dumb? Where it's just like I'm so excited to see this fictional character learn this information that I already know about. Like I'm not excited on how that's going to affect what they're going to do, but I just want to see the moment where they're like, "Oh my god," because I definitely get like that, but that's kind of stupid, right?
No, it's not stupid. It makes perfect sense. You want
Okay.
to see the characters You want it? It's going to change their worldview. It's going to change how they act. You want to see that?
What?
I mean, usually
My
in shows,
father.
I feel like that often that thing is about like, oh, they found out another character lied to them or something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you're like waiting for the fallout. In this instance, it is just a thing about his past that I don't know, may or may not affect his life in any way at this point. Right? But I guess we can get to that when it happens, which, I mean, minor spoilers, although it is on the cover of the book, does not happen until the very end of the book.
Yes. The inside cover also pretty much spoils the end of the book, like, or at least the blurb on the inside just tells you something from like the last chapter or second to last chapter. It concludes one of the arcs. So
Oh, yeah. I did not read that.
I'm glad that I'm glad that this book is all about just telling you what's going to happen in it.
This is what people like. They want to know what's going to happen. They love the spoilers.
This is the kids who read the last sentence of Goosebumps first.
Fucking idiots.
Mm-hmm. Now on the inside it says Predator.
Wait a minute,
and
it was
Prey.
just their little sister coming out? Oh man. Sorry. That was Goosebumps.
They were dogs the whole time?
Wait, is that one of them?
You don't know about the one where they all turn out to be dogs or something? That's like a Goosebumps meme.
I know the one where they're robots. I love that one.
No, there's one where it turns out the whole time they were dogs.
Oh man, I think I had that idea once, and now I'm pissed off that I probably stole it from Goosebumps.
Anyway, on the inside cover it says Predator and Prey.
Now, you know what? I'm fine with this. It feels like the writers have said, look, we give up. We're not, the puns don't make sense. Let's just say a phrase. And I'm fine with that. There's some honesty here between writer and reader.
So,
no one's trying to fool anybody.
Okay, so like it's better that they don't try at all than that they do something just obviously wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can feel it.
Predator and Prey. Oh yeah, there they are.
There they are.
That's all I need.
And that is the picture here. The picture here, there's a hawk coming in, looming over a family of bunny rabbits about to murder them.
I know, it's all, the rabbits are so adorable. Oh man,
this would be rough. A good print to have on your wall if you had to have one of these.
I want this a full size T-shirt. Where that's like, it's like a wraparound and the whole front, it's not just like a rectangle in the middle. The whole thing is this image.
Yeah. So you have like the hawk on the front or something, and then like the shadow wraps around your side, and then the bunnies are on your back, or maybe the other way around.
I was thinking the whole front is this image, but on the back you just extend it using AI to have more grass and rocks.
Right, because what the image is missing is more grass and rocks.
Well, that's the back of the shirt. No one needs to look at that. That's just for effect.
Right, but it still needs to wrap around.
Yeah, because that's cool. And specifically, I want AI to be used because I do not like it when artists get paid.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. At least you're internally consistent here.
Look at this little bunny rabbit down in the center. It's so cute. It's so tiny.
Don't you kind of want to eat him?
Oh, a little bit. Maybe. I mean, if he was morphed with a hawk, maybe.
Yeah, those juicy poultry legs.
Hey, wait. Seropedia says this was October 1998. What the fuck is your information?
Oh, you know what? That's interesting because my book on the inside says First Scholastic Printing, November 1998 on the inside cover.
I think maybe. Okay,
maybe something's weird here.
Yeah, I don't know. They sure say published in October 1998.
Maybe it came out through like the schools or something, and then like the in bookstore printing was November.
I don't know. It says this book was published at this time. I assume they mean at the same time as the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, although it is set after it.
Oh yeah, you know what? I do remember seeing that and then like making that. You know what? I'm not sure. Yeah, clearly I just need to not ignore Seropedia, which is too bad. I was hoping to never use it again.
Yeah, I understand, but I do think that based on the intro of this episode, you may have to step down from your position.
I may have to, yeah.
Expert.
I mean, this is clearly not working out.
No. Probably not, but that's okay. All right, I think I'm done with the cover. I think I've
Hmm.
said what I need to say about it.
I think we need at least another 20 minutes of discussion to be good.
Yeah. Oh, actually, wait. I have one more thing to
Oh,
say
good,
about it.
good. I'm glad. Yeah, we weren't going to make our time.
I don't know if this is on your real cover, the book you have, but
Hmm.
there is a version on Ceropedia where maybe this has happened before, but I don't remember it being on the cover. Maybe it was. It says, "Watch Animorphs on Nickelodeon."
Yeah, I brought that up the first time it happened. It has not
Oh
stopped
yeah.
happening ever.
Oh, when did it start?
It started, I want to say 21, might have been 20.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe the Ceropedia, I just didn't see that version of it, so
Mm.
for me this is new.
Yeah, that could be, and it might not be every printing either. I'm not sure, but I do know that like going forward, so far they've all said watch Animorphs on TV, including the Hork-Bajir Chronicles has said that, or at least one of them did. I think maybe it was only the soft cover.
Got it. Yeah. If you liked Hork-Bajir Chronicles, definitely check out the show. I'm sure there's plenty of that kind of thing in it.
That's right. Okay. Okay. So this book. All right.
This is a book, man. This
It
is a book.
it sure is. So Tobias has been having a lot of trouble recently. There's another hawk moving in on his meadow, and he needs to fight it off, but he's not doing it. Um, he's also been like going hungry because he can't hunt. Because when he tries to kill, there's a family of rabbits in his meadow, and when he tries to kill and eat the babies, he like switches perspective into their heads at the last moment, and he experiences their like terror as he swoops in to kill them, and he veers off. So he's been going hungry, and he's got another hawk who's getting ready to fight him and kick him out. um he flies over to the school, and starving, he sees a dead raccoon on the road, and he eats it to stave off his hunger. But Rachel sees him, and he feels humiliated and flies off and like pretends to be some other bird. uh Now a couple days later, Rachel asks him to come by because it turns out Chapman, who we haven't really talked about outside of fan fiction in a while, but you remember their vice principal, Chapman
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yerk. Yeah. He's been asking around school for Tobias because apparently there's some lawyer named DeGroot who is representing who is representing his like father, his dead father, and some woman named Aria who says she's his cousin. They've been looking around, and apparently they've been looking around, and nobody knows where he is. Everybody's sort of just figured out that Tobias is MIA. Now, apparently, Arya is a nature photographer and has been in Africa for the past few years, but uh, she, finding out about Tobias, she wants to take him in and give him a home. All right, set up for this book.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Boy, where to begin?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we could begin at the beginning.
Yeah, so let's begin at the beginning.
No, wait. No, that would be that's many episodes from now. Do you see?
I do see.
Okay.
I do like the opener of this because a lot of the initial exposition, rather than being like, I can't tell you who I am because there's an alien invasion, is just like, I can tell you who I am, but I bet I'm not who you think. I'm a bird. Let me tell you about being a bird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He gets to give you a pretty different perspective.
Yeah.
Also got to wonder, I mean, look, at this point we all know that these framing devices make no sense, but is Tobias is he dictating his stories to Rachel to write down? Does he morph into a human to type them up at the library?
Perhaps these are excerpts from his Hirak de l'Est.
That's gotta be, that's the only conclusion here. Or maybe Baby Toby uh is telling the story and it's so immersive that we feel like it's his perspective.
That's true. Because yeah, that's right. That could be.
Something's going on. The very beginning here, he talks about Rachel's.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing about names and identities. And he says, I've known two Rachels. One was this whiny, obnoxious person. The other Rachel, the one I know now, is the bravest person I've ever known. I honestly read this and thought, well, there must be introducing another Rachel in this book, but this does not ever get addressed again. It's like this anecdote. Is there another Rachel? What is this anecdote? I don't. It's weird.
He's just shitting on some chick named Rachel he used to know.
I guess it's sort of it's realistic in that way. It's often you'll probably meet someone with the same name as someone else, but for a written story, it feels strange it feels like a setup that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought maybe he might have possibly meant Rachel Green.
Who is that?
Oh, Rachel Green. She lives in New York. She frequents Central Perk.
Oh, okay. I don't know. No, I guess that's like the only one I don't know the last name.
I was gonna say pop quiz.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel Green. I don't know if it has an E at the end or not. I didn't look that up.
Yeah. So I guess let's just go through kind of sort of in order here. So I do kind of like these sort of dueling storylines going on where you've got the issues of him as a hawk, and then you've got like issues of him as a human and potentially an out for being a hawk. Um like he would have a place to go potentially if this Arya woman is going to take care of him. Now this is something that's going to get explored more in depth in the book. So I don't know how much we need to go into it right now, but I do like it as a setup here.
Yes, this is definitely a Tobias ass book.
Yes.
This is not like you were saying about Marco's last book. Like this is all the Tobias you can eat is in this book.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of opportunities, so they better let you eat this Tobias up.
Yes, preferably when he's halfway between Hawk and Rabbit.
Might need to turn this book around so I'm not looking at the cover anymore.
I know I'm just so succulent. Yeah, and yeah, I also like those dueling plots, as you say, the swap between human and hawk world. It's very interesting because Tobias, even in this book, feels very disconnected from the other Animorphs, which is kind of always true, but you don't always get quite a sense of it because they're busy fighting Hork-Bajir in a underground warehouse or something.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, this is something you've mentioned before. Like, it seems like Tobias just is kind of, and he is, in this book, he spends like several days. He's just like, I was flying around my meadow. Oh, Rachel saw me and I felt ashamed, but I didn't talk to her. And then like a couple days later, I guess Jake saw me flying around and was like, Tobias, Rachel needs to talk to you. So I went and flew over there. It's like he wasn't hanging out with them all this time.
No, he is not coming in when Marco and Jake are playing Doom and like perched on the windowsill and having a chat.
No,
and they're throwing him cheese balls,
yeah,
which would be pretty fun.
That would be fun. I mean, thinking back to like book 3, there was like a point where he was like, "Oh, there's all these things I could do now that I'm a hawk. I could like go to concerts and baseball." Like, he's not doing that shit. All the things he could do as a hawk, he could sit in a meadow.
There's specifically a part later on when he's like, I don't even care about sports anymore. I don't even know what that means anymore. Like why would he want to go to a baseball game? He's like, I got rabbits to catch, my dude.
yeah. No, Tobias
maybe
has
I'll
got
check
some
out
issues.
the Greyhound races, maybe, because they have the little rabbit on the.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So you might have fun with watching that. He's
like,
get the rabbit.
Get it.
Yeah, and this is like you were. I think this is where we first see what you were saying before, which is the Tobias's maleness, which we have commented on this show a few times. Maybe not even related to Tobias, just because we are. I think we're aware of our brokenness and in an important way. That he refuses to ask anyone else for help. He doesn't want to be seen as weak. He's basically willing to starve to death rather than just, which is strange because maybe it's not strange, but it's worth noting because I remember early on, wasn't Jake feeding him and catching stuff for him in his attic or something?
Yeah.
And now he's completely self-sufficient.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100% he is. Yeah. This is something that we'll probably get more in depth into as the episode goes on. But yes, he has really become more like this as he's stayed longer as the Hawk. The Hawk really like exacerbates this element of him. Um, it's like
I
it's like a metaphor become literal.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. A metaphor become literal.
Yeah.
Um, this might be one of those episodes where I feel like the upfront is going to be overloaded with stuff, and then later on we'll have less to say because so many like the themes become apparent early on, and
Yeah.
a lot of the book is like later on is just kind of repeating those same themes.
That's fair. That's fair. This is definitely one of those. I mean, let's hope that it's like that because otherwise it's gonna be a 4-hour episode.
No, no. We'll be fine. We've said that. Well, man, with the pop culture references, yes, it might be with them. Um,
Ooh, I've been
but anyway,
missing
so
those.
I know, me too. There's some of the more him as a Hawk here. Some of the more disturbing lines I think actually ever read in a book. I'd
Hmm.
just like to say that they only can get away with because he is a Hawk. If you were to put these lines in a book about, I don't know, say John Wayne Gacy or something,
You
uh,
love John Wayne Gacy.
what? Well, how can you blame me?
It's always John Wayne Gacy with this guy.
I mean, what would you rather me say? Ted, who's the other one? Bundy?
That's one of them. The
I
other
mean,
one.
yeah, but there's like, those are the two. Who else you got?
There's Ed Gein. There's
Oh, sure,
Jeffrey
he's good.
Dahmer.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
There's
yeah. No, those
Albert
are good.
Fish. How can you forget Albert Fish?
That's, you make a valid point,
Yeah,
but John Wayne Gacy is easily the most fun to say.
that's true. Yes,
Anyway,
but
Tobias
yeah,
has this line here. He says, if I killed only the baby, the mother would survive to breed again.
yes,
Breed more babies for me to take, to rip apart, to eat.
yes. But also he
Fucked
he
up.
says this other thing where he's like, yeah, but if you might think it's nicer to kill the mother, but then the babies would all just die. Which I don't know if that makes it that much nicer, but like there's a justification for it, you see.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. He does talk about his conflicting feelings as Hawk and human and all
Yeah.
that.
He thinks that a baby bunny is the most toothsome dish in all of gastronomy.
Gastronomy.
The most beaksome dish.
Now, raccoon roadkill, that's
Hmm.
ethically okay because he didn't have to kill it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Tobias muses on that a little bit. Like while he's eating it, he's like, I feel like this is gross and bad and I don't want to do it. But like isn't that kind of strange that like the way I draw this line where if it's like still alive and kicking as I'm eating it, that's okay somehow, but like because it's already dead, it's taboo.
Yeah, well, I feel roadkill is for the lower class hawks.
Yeah.
This is for like the homeless hawks.
Yeah, no, I mean clearly Tobias makes a big deal about this roadkill to himself. Like this roadkill comes back a number of times throughout the book and like I don't think anyone gives a shit about it other than him. Like nobody would
Well,
care.
the true thing that mortifies him is that Rachel sees him doing
Yes.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I do think there is something different about like, oh, a graceful predator in flight catching a mouse or a
Mhm.
rabbit versus like we as humans think of raccoons as being dirty little garbage gremlins
Mhm.
who have rabies and will like bite you and stuff. So and the fact that it's like, oh, it probably got hit by a car, so it's got like tire treads in it, maybe like there's
Mhm.
something, it doesn't feel as natural, it feels a little more disgusting. So I don't blame him for being embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean I get that, but it is also just I don't know. I think that I'll have more to say about it when I have like character quotes to
Okay.
outline it with.
Well,
Um
I'm going to say, oh
yeah.
yeah, go ahead. No, 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 no,
No,
no.
no, say something.
Okay, well, I want to talk a little bit more about that scene and maybe more specifically a little bit about the Tobias Rachel dynamic here.
Sure, yeah.
Um, I I do think I, I'll repeat myself on a couple of points.
Mm-hmm.
Longtime listeners will know I've had a couple of bugaboos that I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
The main one being I've felt like the Rachel Tobias relationship has been heavily downplayed,
Mm-hmm.
and to me this is truly the first book where it's very explicit that they like each other.
Yeah, this book
Like
goes
that's
all in on it for sure.
completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't. I know there's a couple lines where he's already said how beautiful she is. Oh, he says, "On a sweet sunny day, she made my heart ache." You
Mm-hmm.
don't get much more explicit than that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could. I mean, I could. Once they turn 18, I write my fanfic.
Right.
They're aged up. They're aged up. Anyway,
Continue.
the other thing I'm going to repeat. Speaking of age gaps, is not so much a bugaboo, just that this, as the kids would say, this is giving Buffy an angel. This is Buffy an angel coded, as the kids would say.
Right. The kids love talking about Buffy. That's what's
Yes.
hippened in with the children.
Yeah, there's teens on that show, therefore it's cool to like it. And it but vampire human romance. I suppose you could sub in Twilight for this if you want, or Anne Rice. They probably did that shit too, right? But it's just you sub out drinking human blood for eating raccoon roadkill.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of the same thing. It's just that there's an argument to be made for like seeing a hot dude drink blood being kind of sexy, whereas there is no argument to be made for Hawk eating a raccoon being
Mm-hmm.
sexy in any way.
I mean, I guess a hawk killing and eating a rat, maybe that's sexy to you.
Well, it's sexy to Tobias.
Clearly. Yeah. Now on that point, in terms of Rachel and Tobias interactions here, there is a thing. So Tobias here drops the fact that sometimes he shows up at Rachel's house and he like does her homework just to like feel connected. And then, if you had the old Tobias and Rachel, like if this book didn't go all in on the relationship going forward, you might have looked at this and been all like, friend zone. Hey Tobias, why don't you come over and do my homework for me, please?
Now, but Tobias isn't going to the classes anymore. So
No.
how good could he be at this? Like, she's probably getting C's at best.
She is the Packard Foundation A+ award-winning student, or at least she was a year ago.
Oh yeah, I think
She is now.
that will never get mentioned again. I think she's going in there and correcting all his work and redoing it. She just lets him do it to make him feel better.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he does do it to make himself feel better. Like,
yeah, she makes a copy of it. And she's like, "Thanks, Tobias."
Mm-hmm.
Throws it right in the trash. He's so proud of himself, and you look at all the answers, it's just complete fucking shit. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in school, for Christ's sakes. This boy has
true.
no education.
We also in this section get a Melissa name drop.
Melissa!
Melissa's
Hey-o.
here. She still exists. Remember her? We're not going to do anything with her. We just, she is there.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad she's there. I'm glad she's still alive.
Yeah, she's probably like hanging out with Juan and Terry.
I think so. And we find out that I was okay. This whole thing, which is kind of the other part of this book, besides the Hawk stuff, is as you said, the lawyer whose name we'll get to next time.
Yeah, let's talk about chapter 3.
And and Arya.
Right.
And now this gets cleared up in the book. There are explanations for all of this, but I will just say, as I was reading it, for most of this book, it made no sense to me why like Chapman would care about this, why he would be why they would be suspicious about this, why they would think this was a thing Tobias needed to be worried about. Chapman at one point says, or somebody says that Tobias hasn't been in school in months, and I was also thinking, hasn't it been like at least a year?
It
In
must
months.
have been at least a year. I think the timeline is kind of weird in the beginning books because I don't think they decided on how much time it's. But it can't. I mean, like, if this whole series took like a couple months, then Toby is going to be like a week old. And like, this just
Yeah,
doesn't.
no, it's almost certainly been over a year. It
Yeah,
makes no
yeah.
sense if it hasn't
I
been.
mean, maybe they just didn't notice that he wasn't in school for most of it.
That could be.
No one gives a shit about Tobias.
The attendance records aren't great. But I don't know if maybe you didn't quite get to that part yet, but them being suspicious,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say here. It's not really a criticism. It's just telling you my viewpoint as a first time reader. I was like, this makes no fucking sense.
Like, why they're suspicious, you mean? Or.
Yeah, well, why? Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but
Mhm.
they think that maybe they're worried this is a trap of some kind, and that
Yeah.
the Yerks are suspecting Tobias. And as a reader, I was like, what could possibly make them suspect Tobias like that? And the thing that they come up with is not a thing I would ever have predicted. But it was just like, what would make them think this? Just because this kid hasn't been in school, they're like, oh, what if he's an Andalite? Like, it didn't track to me.
Mm. Yeah, I
And
mean,
but I guess what's confusing to me is why the kids think that might be
yeah.
plausible.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know that I had as much of a problem with that because, like, Tobias is, of course, suspicious, like, pretty explicitly because he's just like, oh, well, I mean, obviously nobody cares about me. So, like, now all of a sudden somebody comes up and says they care about me, must be a trap. Wouldn't make sense if it wasn't. And they say, like, Marco is in, like, full-blown paranoia mode. It makes sense that Marco's immediately just going to be like, okay, what are all the ways this could go wrong? Marco's kind of a pessimist and a cynic like that. But I'm not sure that Rachel is that suspicious. Like, it feels like Rachel
Mm.
is over here, like, I don't know, maybe it could work out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right in a way. It kind of makes sense from some of these characters' perspectives, but I just don't understand the logic of. They don't even like Visser 3 can't even figure out they're not Andalites.
Hmm.
How's he gonna make the jump to maybe it's a kid? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel you, but, like, also that you don't necessarily know everything the Yerks are doing. Like, you could just be like, wait a second, did they figure something out and we don't know it? Are they probing at Tobias? We don't know. Like,
Right.
I get it.
Well, which is kind of the case. Which maybe
Yeah.
to me feels like them not wanting to have the characters have that discussion because they don't want you to figure out what it is,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it'd be like too obvious because I don't know. I would but
Yeah.
okay, it's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel either way.
it it makes sense. It's not like it's fine. We can move on.
All right. Well, Tobias is going to go meet with DeGroot, the the lawyer, who I know you're going to have notes about that name. um, but they figure they're going to sit around for like backup. So, Tobias will go in, him and the others will all be like stationed nearby. Rachel's like in a bathroom that shares a wall and she's ready to like go bare and bust in. But anyway, Tobias meets with this lawyer, DeGroot, and he tells him that Tobias's quote unquote father who died might not be his real father. Some strange situation where, this lawyer just took over his deceased father's practice and discovered a document that was supposed to be read to Tobias on his upcoming birthday, which is a little bit of a snag because Tobias does not know when his birthday is and doesn't want to ask him. He also asks Tobias to meet Arya at her hotel to, get to know her, I guess. Anyway, Tobias takes this in. He leaves. He gives the others the all good sign. And as he's walking off, Jake is doing spotting from the air and he sees like a guy tailing Tobias. So Tobias does like a whole, Matrix runs through a kitchen, runs through some back alleys, but he loses the guy. And then he flies off. Okay, so this lawyer.
DeGroat.
Yes, I know you're itching to talk about DeGroat.
First, I just want to say, I am DeGroat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was good.
Now, in fairness, I've Googled DeGroot.
Mm-hmm.
DeGroot. This is so people understand.
Yes.
This was another one of Kay Applegate's and or Michael Grant's weird names. Not only is it weird to see written, it's also pronounced weird. Okay,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry about that. I just sneezed. Hold on, another one's coming.
Jesus
Now,
Christ. Control
sorry.
yourself.
I'm getting fucking worked up. I'm allergic to Dutch names.
Yeah, I mean that is I didn't actually look it up, but I did look at that name. It's like, yeah, that's fucking Dutch, all right.
It is Dutch, and there are a few on Wikipedia. They have some famous people with that name, some
Mhm.
athletes, some other things. They also have a section for characters. And while they do mention Gerald and Karen DeGroot from Lost and Luann DeGroot, who you might know from the comic strip Luann,
Holy shit. I do know that Luann.
as well as Tavish Finnegan DeGroot from Team Fortress 2, they do not list this DeGroot under characters.
Mm.
Unfortunately, big oversight on Wikipedia's part.
Yeah, someone needs to edit that in probably.
Yeah, I think that might be my birth as a Wikipedia editor today. So I hate this name, but I guess it's a real name, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
No, it's real. Well, you also
Speaking,
were pissed off when I told you that Das Boot was pronounced that way and not Das Boot, so it makes sense that this
I
pissed
don't
you
think
off
that I
too.
was. I don't think that pissed me off.
You were steaming. You were like hopping up and down top of your
I
head,
don't,
like
and I don't
flopping
even know
around as
that
steam came out your ears.
I don't know that I didn't know that. I just think that I think the Americanized pronunciation is Das Boot. The way the way you don't say like how certain words you Americanize.
Well,
I just
the
think that's
American
maybe.
name would be the boat. So
Well,
it's like how Lola Rent is Run Lola Run in the American name.
Sure, but I think it's acceptable to call it Das Boot if you want to.
Okay. Okay, I'm glad we've got that cleared up. This is one
Right.
of the most important points in the book is this guy's name.
Well, it comes up a lot.
It does, that's true.
And listen, let me tell you something. What was the last David book had a little preview chapter, and it was this chapter. And I accidentally, without realizing it, started reading some of that. So this name has been in my head for months. Because I was ready to get pissed about it in that book.
Eating
I had to
away
wait
at
till
you.
now. Yeah. But speaking of names, I also thought this was an interesting point here when he walks into the lawyer's office and the secretary says there's a
Mhm.
young boy named Tobias blank out here.
Mhm.
And it is a literal blank in the
Yeah.
book, which this is the first time I think that someone has explicitly said someone's last name and it's been censored like that.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. I don't know if I was Tobias, maybe I just would just not put that part in. Like, I don't know why you have to. No, for journalistic integrity, I must let them know she said my last name.
Right. I mean, also, you got to be careful about that because, you wouldn't want Visser 3 to know which. I mean, I guess we don't know that this is a trap yet, but whatever. I guess I'm spoiling it, but
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't even know what you're saying. You could be speculating.
yeah, it could be If this was a Yerk trap, right? We wouldn't want Visser 3 to be like, oh, out of all of the like Tobias blanks that I investigated here, right? Was it Tobias Brooks? Was it Tobias Smith? Was it I don't know because there were quite a few that I was checking out, and
Could it have been Tobias DeGroot?
could have been.
Yeah, I have more questions about some of these things, but I guess they're best left till the end.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I will say this is kind of suspicious here. Like this, you're supposed to. I feel like you're. I mean, you're definitely supposed to come in and not have any idea whether this is a trap or not. Like they immediately say this might be a trap. but then it doesn't necessarily feel like one. But also like he walks out and immediately there's a guy tailing him. That's kind of suspicious, right?
Yeah, that's true. I was pretty not suspicious, I will admit. I think I like from what I said earlier, I was still just hung up on the logic of like
Mm,
it doesn't make sense. Why would Yerkes go through this lawyer? Like it just too implausible to me for that to be real.
hmm
You are right. The guy tailing him is pretty suspicious, and I don't know. I can't rationalize that any other way. It is kind of a strange detail to add.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just like, oh, we thought he was tailing you. Maybe it was just a coincidence. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help also the book is named The Pretender, and on the back it's all like, I don't know, something might not be quite right. So, like, but
Gotta
even,
tell you,
yeah.
I had not until just now even considered what that title actually meant. Like didn't even not that I didn't figure it out. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I don't know, it's just what it's called.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, you just like run into the book. You don't like pick it up in the bookstore and then you're like looking at it on the way home all excited.
Right.
Um, but as a kid, I do remember, maybe I was kind of stupid because even with all those
Uh-huh.
clues, I do remember being like, I don't know. I'm pretty suspicious about this, but it could be legit.
Yeah. It is a fun conflict because
hmm
you're trying, you want to root for Tobias, you want him to have a good life, but you're also like, well, you want him to still be an animorph and have morphing powers and all that. It feels very, this is a thing.
hmm
I think I've made comparisons to like Hulk before, right? It's like you want him to, or again, Angel from Buffy. It's like, wouldn't it be amazing if, oh, in this episode, there's a thing where he could be human. He could just be a human and live a happy life, but
Yeah.
then there wouldn't really be a show anymore and it'd be kind of boring. So it has to be sad. And
Yeah.
that's that kind of what we go through here.
I mean, if we were near the end, you could, because I mean, you
Mhm.
don't even have to end. You can go. You don't need Tobias to be around. He could leave, and the Animorphs could continue. It's just then you wouldn't have any more Tobias, so you would want to end within the next 10 books before you're missing another Tobias book.
Yeah, because there's nothing, you have to maintain that order.
Right? Yes.
As all readers would be infuriated if the order was changed because they all know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there might be an order change at some point, but it'll be like a year away, so don't worry about it.
Well, now I am up in arms about that.
Yeah. I mean,
Tobias is kind of a little punk in this book, huh?
he is kind of a little punk. He's very like blunt and he doesn't make facial expressions at all because he's too hawk-like. Um there is
A
some
little
yeah.
autistic coded, maybe.
Except I think he's supposed to look too fierce and serious. He's a scary guy.
True, true.
He does a little bit of thinking about how he was always like a bully magnet and a wimp back when he was human, but now he's like tough because he was a hawk.
Yeah, I like it. I
Yeah.
think it's a pretty cool. It's a cool shift. He doesn't give a shit about. He can't be scared by a person anymore. He's like, I have to fight raptors for meat. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do to me?
Yeah, no, like there's a good thing where the guy's all like, you're not supposed to just be like living on the streets, and Tobias is like, you can't lock me up, and he can deliver that line so well because he's just like, it's true, you can't. I'll just leave. You can't.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
you.
He's not saying it like you can't do that to me. He's like, no, you can't.
Yeah,
You can do nothing.
yeah,
There's a lot made about the fact that Tobias can't remember his birthday.
yeah. There is. I don't know. I find that kind of sad.
Oh yes, it's terribly sad.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is this because he's just been a hawk for so long, or is it because he was like came from broken homes and they never celebrated his birthdays,
It's
or
got to
maybe
be some
both?
combination. Like I'm sure to some extent it is because he just like is completely disconnected and forgetting all that. Like in book 3 he was like, I don't even remember what I looked like anymore. But yeah, I'm sure his
Yeah,
birthday was never really a thing before anyway.
yeah, sad.
I do find the morphing sequences in this section kind of interesting because he morphs human in them. So like you almost never get like you always hear like, oh, and then my human turnness turned into this. You very rarely get the long morphing explanation that describes like, oh, and then my beak changed into a mouth with teeth. He talks about the
Yeah.
barbaric sensation of big bony teeth in his mouth.
Yeah, I did like the phrase "big bony teeth,"
Yeah, yeah. So
kind of
that's
like bone
fun.
apple tea.
Yeah, it is. And he also has a couple moments where he's like drinking soda and he's like, "Oh yeah, I took the soda and pressed it to my beak. Lips. I mean lips."
Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And he almost freaks out like Axe. He has like where he's like, "Ah,
Mm.
sugar. Ah," but he's too
Uh,
stoic to actually freak out.
Another almost a literal Pepsi Roland analog
Yeah. Roland and his Pepsis.
for our once again for our Dark Tower heads out there in the audience.
They love it.
And also Axe, I think, eats shit in this chapter.
Well, it could be chocolate. Tobias hopes it's chocolate. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. I mean, I think there's a good chance it's human fecal matter.
There is a pretty good chance, let's be real.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, so Tobias doesn't want to talk to his friends about this. Like after he leaves, he's like, I could tell everybody about what that lawyer just told me, but fuck that. I'm gonna go off and be on my own. Oh, or rather, he's gonna go off to the Valley of the Free Hork-Bajir to think about it instead. Because
Yeah.
he's a respected loner like that. But when he gets there, Toby, who we've referenced a couple times, but we didn't explain who she was. Toby is Baby Hork from the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, the new
Yeah.
seer of the Hork-Bajir Valley. Um,
Yeah.
so Toby tells Tobias that there's trouble in the valley because another baby Hork-Bajir named Beck is missing. He wandered out of the valley about a day ago. And we also get an answer to the question that you had last time about why all the other Hork-Bajir are here. Apparently, under Toby's direction, the Hork-Bajir have been leaving and raiding other Yerk facilities and kidnapping Hork-Bajir and holding them and freeing them. And Toby is doing this because she wants the Hork-Bajir to be strong so that even when the Yerks are beaten, like humans won't just come in and genocide them right after. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's a new secret Yerk construction project, like a big important thing that they've been raiding, and Toby doesn't want to tell Tobias about it because she's afraid, Jake's gonna go attack it and blow it up, and then they won't be able to free any more Hork-Bajir. And Tobias is like, "Don't worry about that. We'll come back and talk to you about it if we need to, but in the meantime, we'll go searching for Beck elsewhere." So now, an hour into this podcast, we get to the third plot line of this book.
Oh yeah, there's a third one.
Beck is missing.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of fascinating because
Mm-hmm.
unlike the Andalite Chronicles, which
Mm-hmm.
has not actually come back up until also this book.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
this
kind
book
of
does
funny.
not expect you to have read it. I expect a lot of kids read this book not knowing that Elfangor is Tobias's father.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But we just finished Hork-Bajir, and right away that's important.
Yeah, immediately, yeah.
So that's which I mean makes sense. Well, yeah, there was more stuff I guess in Hork-Bajir that takes place in the present,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Not really though. I don't know. They could have left that hanging for 10 books if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's bad. It's here. I don't know. Maybe this marks. Maybe it doesn't. You can either tell me or not tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this is like a shift in the series being like, okay, well now like let's actually make some things happen here. Let's make this actually matter
Mm-hmm.
going forward.
Yeah, and you can also see that framing device for Hork-Bajir Chronicles as potentially like, oh, I have this cool idea. I want the Valley of the Free Hork-Bajir to mean something. I want them to be like a freedom fighter force. I gotta plant the seeds of that somehow. Let's do it in the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, right? Let's start that here.
That's a book she'd wanted to write for years.
Right, yes. Now, I will say on the chronology of that, Thinking about it, I'm pretty sure the Hork-Bajir Chronicles does not chronologically happen immediately before this book. It kind of makes sense because Toby feels younger in that book than she feels here. Like, it feels almost like that
True.
book happens somewhere between 13 and 23, and we just don't hear about it until.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe it does. It's hard to say what the
Yeah.
growth cycle of a Hork-Bajir is like,
Yeah.
especially a seer.
Yes, but I mean, that is the other problem, right? Is that it's fully possible that Toby is still the, like, Hork-Bajir equivalent of 5 years old. She just talks like an adult.
She's basically a little Sheldon,
Mm.
a
Yeah.
young Sheldon type.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking because you had immediately made Baby Yoda comparisons. I was thinking Baby Leia, maybe.
Oh, Baby Leia's good.
Yeah.
I will make a Baby Yoda comparison later,
Hmm.
not now.
Okay. Now, I'm wondering, do you think that maybe these books were slightly rewritten for clarity, but maybe Toby actually talks a little bit like Yoda?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Tobias, free the Hork-Bajir you must. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that she does personally.
Probably, maybe more like Yaddle, since is a girl.
Right. What does Yaddle talk like?
Hmm. Tobias, free the Hork-Bajir you must.
Yes. Tobias,
Uh,
owe you a
I
great deal. We do.
okay. That's a pirate's parrot, is what you just did.
Mhm. Well, maybe I mean the Hork-Bajir are pretty. They're pretty bird-like.
All I know is they're not the geniuses of the galaxy.
Hmm. Well, except for Toby.
In case you were confused, has Marco ever said Polly want a cracker to Tobias? Because that would be funny. I feel
Yeah, I
like he
mean
has, maybe.
that's a little too soon. You know, Price cut Polly and all. We're still mourning.
Did she die? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember how
they
that
buried
ended
her or
up.
some shit. Or no, they didn't bury her, but Rachel wanted to bury her, and Tobias said no. Let her get eaten by animals. It's the
Rachel
bird
wants to
way.
bury a lot of people. Okay. I need something clarified here because all the Hork-Bajir are like, "Oh, Tobias, Toby said you'd be coming."
Hmm.
Are, what, is she psychic? Are seers? I know they're called seers, but I didn't think they were literally psychic.
Yeah, I mean, canonically, not necessarily, but I do like that sort of implication because, like, when they first introduced the seer, it is a very, like, mystical idea that, ooh, once in a generation, when there is need, the people will be sent a seer, and then they're kind of like, oh no, it's just a genetic anomaly. But then you do get stuff like this where it's like, Toby could have just been like, oh, well, we're in trouble, so I believe that help will be sent. It must be Tobias, and then coincidentally he shows up. Or you could also believe that maybe there is something mystical about the seers. I don't know. I like that element.
It feels a little bit like showing up to the Oracle. Right?
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
Toby talks like.
Yeah. um, yeah. So I mean, yeah, as you said, we find out about Beck, Bek.
BEK. Mm-hmm.
Love these Hork-Bajir names, and they've tried to look for Beck. They've been calling out
Yeah.
Beck, which is what I do when I want to hear two turntables and a microphone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at the festival and I'm like, Beck.
Yeah. Yeah. Cat confirmed.
Okay.
Beck.
That's right.
Pretty good bit. Jara's like
More
looking
Horks.
look. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this does. I gotta give him credit. This is what I wanted. I mean, it took him a while to do it. We've
Mhm.
had these fucking Horks for a long time now, but this I would like to have this check in with the Chi as well. I'd like to be going back to the Chi zone and seeing
Mhm.
what they're up to of every few books. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah, no, it would be nice to get a check in with the Chi.
also would have been nice to. I wouldn't mind just reading more books about. I mean, there could be like a spin-off series about them freeing Yerks or freeing Hork-Bajir from the Yerks. I could read about that.
Yeah.
There's
Like I told you last time that Toby's my favorite Animorphs character. I would absolutely read a Toby series that's just about Toby doing shit in the Hork-Bajir Valley.
Yeah, your favorite Animorphs character.
My favorite Animorphs character. I love Toby. Clearly, the Hork-Bajir Chronicles has made an impression on Toby, right? Like, She's not. She's immediately, her first thought is just like, well, we've got these nice humans who came and saved us, and everyone's like, yeah, the humans are our saviors, and immediately her thought is, they'll probably genocide us as soon as the Yeerks are beaten. And she's not wrong.
Yeah. 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 I do wonder about that. I had this later on. Maybe they bring this up more, but there's this whole thing about, well, the humans aren't going to, how could humans and Hork-Bajir live together even if we beat the Yeerks? I'm just assuming, wouldn't they just go home? Why would they stay on Earth?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, if you beat all the Yeerks everywhere, but if you just kicked the Yeerks off of Earth, that doesn't mean they're kicked off the Hork-Bajir homeworld.
Oh, that's. I guess I wasn't sure if they were even still on the Hork-Bajir homeworld anymore. If they were just they were all relocated to Yeerk homeworld or something.
It is an up in the air question at this point because it's not clear how devastating Virus Q118 was. Like, has it rendered the planet uninhabitable for Hork-Bajir, or like were they able to weather the storm, or what? We don't know at this point.
Okay,
But,
yeah, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Does it seem also another thing in this book, perhaps a bit more explicitly, what's the word I'm looking for? Progressive?
Maybe?
Than there's a few instances, we'll get to some big ones later, but there's a little bit of it here when Tobias says, humans didn't have an unblemished record of tolerance for different races. After all, before this valley had belonged to the Hork-Bajir, it had probably been inhabited by Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, again, for 1998 kids book, that's some pretty hard-hitting shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I can totally see it, because like I know Michael Grant was also very involved with the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, and like he was trying to actively make political statements with it, so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe there was some element of him being like, why don't we actually talk about Native American genocide? And I don't know, maybe K. Applegate was like, could we maybe just do an allegory for it and not explicitly say it?
Yeah, I was wondering, is that a Michael Grant thing? Because it seems like it would also be a K. Applegate thing.
It does seem like that, but maybe there's a difference in the way they handle it.
Yeah, and then I also just really love, there's a couple times here where Tobias describes the Hork-Bajir as goblins. He says they have a goblin face.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah, it's good. I like goblins.
Yeah, I'm a goblin.
So you know how like Dak needed Aldrea because she was like the only one he would commune with? What do you think about if you were to ship Toby and Tobias?
Oh boy.
Like, I know he's basically her godfather, and there's relationship's problematic in a number of ways, but I don't know. I mean, Hork-Bajir are frequently described as bird-like, and Tobias he'd need another morph, so it wasn't like a mother-daughter thing. Or does he?
Oh, no.
I'm getting my fan fiction notepad out here.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, there's almost based. I shouldn't say what I'm about to say.
Oh boy. Oh no. Because I already shouldn't have said that if you're about to escalate it.
Well, I was just going to say, it's fine, because there's absolutely no one who's still listening to this an hour, 10 minutes in. There's not a chance.
True, yeah. We're not even close to the halfway point.
No, but we're going to be fine. We're not going past 2 hours this week. I just wanted to say, on that line of thought, if Toby were to be in a relationship with an older Hork-Bajir, now because of the difference in their intellects, you could almost argue that the predator in that scenario would be Toby, even though Toby's the one who's underage. How does that work? I'm just saying it's complicated.
I would argue that the predator was book 5, narrated by Marco.
You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, I like that joke better than the other one I was thinking of, so we're going to stick with that.
Oh, was it about Shane Black's The Predator?
No, it was totally different and not appropriate.
Was it about
for
John
podcasting.
Wayne Gacy?
That's right, you got it.
Okay. Next.
Next. All right. Okay, so then we have like a little barn scene, right? Because Tobias has to finally tell everybody else what's going on. Although first we get another meadow scene where tension is rising between Tobias and the other hawk, and he still can't kill to eat, and he's pissed off. Because of course he doesn't talk to his friends about it immediately. But anyway, there's a short scene where he tells everybody at the barn what's going on, and you know, so they split up into teams, right? Marco and Axe are going to go looking online for reports about weird stuff. Jake and Cassie are going to go wolf and search from the valley, and Rachel and Tobias will go scout out Arya so they can handle all this stuff. Not a ton here, but this is where we get our little barn character interaction. So I feel like we should stop and because there's a couple things here that need to be mentioned.
This, I do think, not just because of how long we're taking to discuss it, but for the book itself, this has got to be the longest we've ever gone without a proper group scene.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Technically, they were all there at the law meeting, but not really. They didn't have a conversation. Yeah, so this is a long. I mean, the only other thing I can think of, I think in the departure, there's one real early, and then the rest of the book is just Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this feels like it's strange. I mean, it works for the book. I kind of like it. It's a little bit of a different vibe, like all the Tobias books kind of are.
Yeah, it helps with the whole Tobias is not only vaguely part of this group vibe.
Yeah, you do not feel like he has a direct link to whatever. Even they come up with this plan later and all this stuff, and Rachel just tells him yeah, we talked about this. You weren't there.
Yeah,
it's not like he has a cell phone. How are they supposed to get to him?
Yeah.
I feel like I was gonna look something up about the book, and I don't remember anymore.
I mean, there's a scene in this section that I figured you would want to talk about because it relates to some Marco and Rachel.
Oh yeah, I definitely have. I do want to talk about that.
Yeah. I think that's the most important part. If we only get to one thing in this section, that's what it should be here.
I feel like we'll have time for more.
Okay.
Yes, Rachel says, before we became Animorphs, your entire day consisted of figuring out which girl to annoy next. Already funny.
Mm-hmm.
Marco replies, and now I always know which girl to annoy next. And then he puts his arm around Rachel and lays his head on her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel laughs and shoves him away. I mean, even Tobias is watching this and he's like, I'm jealous.
Yeah, no, Tobias is super jealous here.
And he's not really jealous that she likes Marco. He's jealous that he has the ability to put a head on her shoulder at all.
Mm-hmm.
Although I mean, he could do that. He could for 2 hours keep his head on her if he wanted to.
Yeah,
you're telling me these two kids, he's never morphing and they're not doing a little necking?
Yeah, I mean, he comes into her room every night as a bird, but I get maybe it's just too weird. Maybe to Tobias, it's almost it would be like, what, you want me to turn into a bird in order to cuddle with you? What are you, a weirdo? Only for him, it's the opposite. If you can't handle me at my hawk, then you don't deserve me at my boy.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said boy and not human. It's funnier that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I'm really torn because I do love Tobias and Rachel, but I also really love Rachel with Marco. So I don't know what to tell you. I think they clearly are kind of made for each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do honestly think that you if you were to do a Marco Rachel thing, the obvious endpoint of this is that it wouldn't last, right? If Tobias were not in the picture, it would make sense to me that if there were no Tobias in this story, the natural endpoint is that Marco and Rachel get together and then they have a crazy fireball breakup because Rachel is psychotic and Marco would not take the relationship very seriously.
Yeah, maybe.
That seems
It kind of reads to me like they decided early on that Tobias and Rachel were the couple. It's almost like if this were a TV show with real actors. It's a lot of times you'll see this, I feel like, on shows where one pair is the couple early on, but as the show progresses, you realize actually this character just has better chemistry with this other character, and that
Mm,
makes more sense. And I don't, to me, I feel like that's what has happened in these
mm.
books is that it's like they have the chemistry, but the authors are too stubborn. They're like, no, 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 it's Tobias
Yeah.
and Rachel. We already decided.
It does feel to me that Tobias and Rachel have chemistry when they decide to do it. It doesn't
Yes.
feel whenever it doesn't feel like when they do have their scenes together, it doesn't feel forced at all. But it is always just like why don't you always do that? And like there is certainly it does feel like, there is some element of like the relationship isn't there because Tobias is too much of a stupid bird to ever like try to advance things. And Rachel is all like, I would do that, but he's a bird. And there's a little bit more like they sort of directly address that in a later scene in this book we can talk about, but like I can sort of see the element of like Rachel's flirty with Marco because there is like a flirty chemistry there that wouldn't work out, and maybe Tobias is more of a soulmate, but like we're just not moving forward on this one because he's a bird.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what the outcome of this series is.
Hmm.
I don't know what happens to Tobias.
Hmm.
I my honest just assumption is that Tobias does become a human again at some point,
Hmm.
whether it be by Elemist or by his choice of getting stuck in Morph. Uh, and I, I would think that if it weren't for that,
Hmm.
then they just wouldn't be together because it's like you just can't have a relationship with a bird. It would just have to be a tragic lost romance thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. No,
especially like post Yerk War, like, but then at post Yerk War, he would just become a boy. But then also, I don't know, all throughout this book, I keep, especially when they keep talking about him like moving into a home and stuff, I keep thinking about like the fact that his morph doesn't age and technically
yeah.
his human form is a year younger than it actually should be. And that's like weird, but they don't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're clearly supposed to just not think about it. That's supposed to not be an issue, and just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but it is one of those things where this book sort of does explore this idea of like Tobias has an out. He could potentially become human, and he kind of doesn't really want to accept that he does. And like, at no point does he really ever bring up the war as the reason, right? It's more just like, but then I wouldn't be a bird if I were a human.
That's
What,
true.
like I do really want to be a human again, but then I wouldn't be a bird.
Yeah. Yeah, he really doesn't ever say, "Oh, but then I couldn't." He said that
Yeah.
before
He has,
about
yeah.
yeah, I could help out the Animorphs, but now it's more about, well, this hawk's in my meadow, man.
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop him?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a pretty serious point in the series. Like, characters are taking some pretty hard turns here. Cassie got some pretty serious shit. Rachel got some pretty serious shit. Jake is starting to get a little crazy in the David arc. Tobias is. I think it fits for Tobias to be a little bit less human at this
Yeah,
point.
these kids are fucking
They're
unhinged.
having problems.
The only other thing to me noteworthy about this section is when they're like trying to figure out, oh, what will happen if someone catches Beck?
Hmm.
Uh, and they're like, oh, maybe they'll, humans don't really believe in aliens, so they'll just think he's a sick kid. Maybe it's one of their speculations.
He has Beaconoma.
Like,
Those guys from the Burger King will be like, "Oh, I've seen this before. That's the
yeah,
worst
yeah,
case of Beaconoma I've ever seen."
right. Then I guess that's the case. Well, like now that we talked about what the Hork-Bajir actually look like, with their weird ass sexy drawings in Hork-Bajir
Mm.
Chronicles. I'm like, no one's thinking this thing is human
It's a
in
very
any
advanced
way.
case.
He's got like I mean, they do. I think they try to downplay it. They're like, oh, his
Yeah.
horns aren't quite in, and his tail isn't
Yeah.
fully grown yet. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, but it is much more likely that people are going to be like, "Is this like a baby lizard Bigfoot?" than an
Right.
alien, to be honest. But yeah, like
Right.
nobody's thinking this is a human.
No, that's not likely.
Yeah. I mostly just liked, as far as things that happened in this chapter, there is a bit here where Marco is ranting and raving about how much shit they have to do here. And Tobias describes him as enjoying the sound of his own outrage. And I like
Oh,
that.
that sounds like me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that sounds like you. I also feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
That should be our tagline.
Yeah. Enjoying this. Well, we already have the shining and strengthening. Rachel and Tobias, they're doing their thing where they're going to fly out and scope out Arya. So they fly out to her hotel. They watch her through the 23rd floor window of this hotel. This is a big ass hotel.
Oh
Um,
no, Jim Carrey doesn't like that either.
Arya generally seems, she seems like the Africa type, right? She's like super tan, and out of date clothes and that sort of thing. She gets a phone call while she's in her hotel room, and she grabs her camera and heads off excitedly, and the two of them follow after her. Um, what follows is a bonkers, crazy ass chase scene where they like follow her cab across town by grabbing onto a police officer's lights, and there's like Tobias like transfers from the cop car onto a helicopter, which turns out to be unnecessary. It's a bunch of craziness that doesn't really matter, but is kind of hard to follow. But the point is, they follow her where she's going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an
Yeah,
action scene.
it's an action scene, but there's actually some stuff in here to talk about. That's not the action scene mostly.
Well, just to be clear, and they make it very clear here,
Yes,
Tobias is not gay,
right.
and he
Yes,
does not want to fuck an eagle.
right. I do have no homo here in my notes. Yeah, Tobias, he might like birds. He might want to fuck a bird. Not necessarily an eagle. Definitely, he's not gay. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was a female eagle, he'd be like, still no, but okay. I mean, I can kind of see where we're going with this.
Yeah, Rachel needs to pull an Aldrea here and find a nice price cut poly for that's Tobias's dream.
Is there really? How big a difference is there between male and female eagles?
No idea.
Probably just like one, really. Okay.
No.
Anyway.
I mean, there is a long section here where Tobias is like lusting after Rachel in Eagle Morph. He says, was she more beautiful to me because she was a bird now? No, of course not. For one thing, eagles and hawks don't mate. For another, her eagle morph is male. No homo. But sometimes it seemed to me that this body suited her better than her own. Her own body misled people with the superficial resemblances to the glossy images of magazine models. This body was Rachel. Fast, strong, smart, intense, and dangerous. He also describes himself as being mesmerized by watching her morph.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, this is Rachel's essence. This is her soul. Tobias is a true. I mean, obviously he thinks Rachel is beautiful. He says that enough times too. But he's also like, I'm in it for the Rachel of it all. He's not superficial.
Yeah, tits or ass, bro, her mind.
Okay.
That's Tobias. He's that meme.
Tobias is like, are you a wingman or a thigh man?
There you go.
There's a part here it's stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
They're flying around, and they're kind of Tobias is embarrassed about his bird business. He doesn't want to tell Rachel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, he mutters something to himself.
Yes.
He mutters it to
a thought
himself
speech.
in the thought speech. So he doesn't just think it. He thought speaks it, but I guess he doesn't project it to anyone but himself?
Yeah.
Is that a thing you can do?
I don't know. That might just be a stylistic choice. Because it'd be like, it's like if you were going to write that for a normal person, you'd probably put it in quotes. But probably, maybe you'd italicize. I don't know. But you can't put it in quotes because you can't fucking talk. Yeah.
The line is brilliant, Tobias.
Yeah.
Rachel, of all people, is really going to appreciate some pathetic story of how you can't stand up to a bird. That is too much for a mutter. That's not a mutter anymore. If you're saying a full sentence, then that's just you're talking to yourself. That's how I feel. A mutter is like, oh, geez, Tobias, come on. But then if you're like, Rachel of all people is really going to appreciate some pathetic. No, you're past muttering now. You've gone too far.
Now, I do want to talk about this section here because this here is kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this. Feels like a much more like masculine take on Tobias's angst issues. Like he's not having this existential, oh, who am I? Am I Hawker? But he's very specifically like, I'm too weak. I'm weak and I suck. And if I ask for help on that, then that makes me worse. So I just have to fucking man up and deal with it. And all of his issues are coming from this idea. And that feels like something a man would write. Like this whole thing here. Um, reading this, he's telling her about the hawk trying to move in, and he says, I felt like an idiot the minute the words were out of my head. This was like the old Tobias style, treating people to displays of stupidity and weakness. No wonder I'd gotten myself beat up so often when I was human. It was like I was begging people to sneer at me. Like,
Yeah.
he's just immediately just like, yeah, I got beat up all the time before. You know why? Because I was a fucking wimp.
He is the guy who got bullied and then went online and joined the Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan communities.
Only he became a hawk instead.
Yeah, and now he's like, I used to be a fucking loser, but now I'm a Chad and I don't care about anybody or I don't know. He's a MGTOW or something. I don't know. I don't know all of the exact specifics of the.
That's probably for the best.
And he's saying, "Am I a hawk or am I a boy? Am I a boy?"
I mean, this does work though because there is this like clear delineation where it's like the hawk is the strong detached part, right? If I remain detached from other people, if I keep my emotions at bay and just do what I need to do and just function, that makes me strong and good. And the human side of me, that was back when I was a wimp and I had feelings and I had emotions and I expressed them, and that made me weak and bad. So that like this idea of like how he is being destroyed by his own toxic masculinity is very like explicitly the metaphor here in a way.
Yeah, there's two wolves inside of him.
Yeah. One's a
One
bird.
is Cassie. Yeah, the other one is a bird.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do appreciate this a lot. In a way that I'm not sure I appreciated that. Like as a kid, I think it was just kind of like, oh, well, he already struggled with being a hawk or a bird. I don't know that. Uh, like sure, this is just he's just doing it again. But it does feel very distinct in this book.
Yes, it does, and it is something that, again, I feel like a lot of the things I say you can just add in parentheses, especially for the '90s.
Mhm.
but even now, the inner turmoil. It's hard to also say this without sounding like one of those people I mentioned earlier, but of being a boy
Mhm.
in America, and specifically a boy, a young,
Mhm.
like a child kid, a
Mhm.
boy kid, is
Mhm.
is not always something that's really explored.
Yeah.
And usually it's like, yeah, you gotta be a tough, cool dude, or else get the fuck out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like look, there's some real points to be made there. It's just that you can't come to the conclusion that uh the answer to that is that actually you do need to be strong and fuck everybody else, and and everybody needs to treat you nice because you have all these issues, but also it's right that you have all these issues at the same time, and like it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's
Yeah.
the thing that changes it all is that you have to, I think, acknowledges that all of these problems still come from men. Like, men created these problems. It's just that boys are modern day boys are still trying to
Mhm.
navigate what they have done to them.
Yeah, I mean, like
Basically.
I don't know if I would even go that far. I would consider it more of like a whole society thing, and like, yeah, you can
Yes.
be, but like it because
When I
I
say
think
men, I
it's
mean the patriarchy is
yeah.
what I
I
mean.
just don't like equating the patriarchy to men because I think it doesn't work very well as an equivalence, and it can sometimes lead people to think I don't know, to like blame
Okay.
individuals for systemic
Well,
problems,
we
but
know who the misogynist is on this show,
that's
then,
me.
don't we?
I'm the misogynist.
Right there, folks. Get him.
From the horse's mouth.
From
Um,
Cassie as a horse's mouth.
yeah, but you know, 100%. Like you can't go into it and be like the answer to the issues with men is more patriarchy and you know, fuck women. They did everything wrong, and I can, yeah, you know, you need to be like the answer to this
Gonna
issue
quote that one out of
is
context.
you get what I'm
Clip.
saying though. I do like what you're listen, I'm a proud incel, and if you think the answer to your problem is to fuck women, then you're on the wrong path, buddy. I guess
Same.
that makes me a volcel. Yeah, right,
Yeah, well,
right.
that's sort of why we started this podcast, was to make sure no women would ever try to fuck us.
That's right.
Anytime I go to bars, like if a girl walks up to me, I just immediately put headphones on her, like Garden State,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "This will change your life."
Hey,
And it's
baby,
this,
did you
and
know
it's
I'm an
this part.
Animorphs podcaster?
Yeah, it's
See
this
ya.
right here. It's a 14-minute rant from me about why I think Tobias and Rachel, or whatever the fuck, about the name DeGroot.
That's right. Uh,
Anyway,
speaking of social issues, there's a bit here where Tobias is talking about this hotel, and he says something about being outside a skyscraper really reminds the human part of you how high up you are. You can imagine humans suddenly outside and picture their helpless terror as they fall, and well, like I said, it reminds you. And I would like to remind the listeners that this was written pre 9/11.
yeah, there is a World Trade Center reference in this book.
There is
Yeah,
kind of a 9/11 book.
kind of a 9/11 book. Huh.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a good thing that there weren't any controllers checking out two hawks riding a cop car, huh?
Yeah, no, nobody. I I don't know. They probably were just like, there's some Andalites on their way somewhere. Not my problem.
Fucking Andalites, whatever. Visser 3 didn't tell me to do anything about it.
Yeah, Mr. 3 doesn't have to know.
Also, Tobias is definitely, can we agree, peeping on Rachel as a bird?
Oh yeah,
And she
100%.
knows. She's well aware.
Yeah, 100%. Tobias is very defensive about not being a peeping Tom here.
Yeah, because they are basically peeping on his cousin Arya.
Yeah, it's you know, Tobias does not say I'm not interested in my cousin. He says, similar to Jake not saying that. He says I'm just not a peeping Tom.
God, there's too many good little love triangles in the Animorphs, you know, that they don't capitalize on. We're gonna need to make that'll be one of our future fan fiction episodes for sure.
Okay. The romance love triangle / fic.
Ooh, I'm getting kind of excited just thinking about it. But again, they all must be aged up. This is future. Please,
Yes.
this is future.
Yeah, future. All right. Let's get to where they're going.
We gotta cut a lot of this out, I think.
No. We'll just have a 4-hour episode. This is all
Oh, right.
acceptable talk. All right. They so they get to Frank's Safari Land and Putt Putt Golf, which is where Arya is headed. Frank's Safari Land and Putt Putt Golf is a shitty zoo attached to like a shitty pirates mini golf next to a liquor store. It's like think like South of the Border vibes, if anybody is aware of South of the Border. So there's a sign on the front says "All new Deadly Midget Freak the Living Razor," and I can say it because it's in the book.
That's right. It's a quote.
It's a quote. So all right, Rachel, they got to get in. Rachel steals the doorman's toupee and drops it on an alligator, so they so they can go in as human. And when they're in there, they see Beck in a cage. You know, Beck has been captured. He's on display, and Arya and Frank are talking. Arya wants to take like pics, but he won't let her do it. He says he's called the newspapers. She, you know, admonishes him about how shitty his animal enclosures are, etc. And then Arya leaves, and the Animorphs leave too. Tobias and Rachel leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Living Razor Deadly Midget Freak.
Yes. That's what he says.
So they didn't think he was a kid.
No.
They just think he's a. I don't know what they think.
I don't know what they think. Arya suggests you could market him as an alien, and Frank's like, that ain't a bad idea.
Yeah, I do think it's very funny that because obviously this is the pre-smartphone age,
Hmm.
that he's like, you can't. I charge extra for photos, whereas
Yeah.
that's not a thing today. Like you're taking photos. If you're entering a
Yeah.
building, you're gonna take photos.
Yeah, no, nothing you can do about that.
Nothing at all. I was, and I'll tell you again, as a first time reader, I was sitting
Hmm.
here at this point, really very unsure of what Arya's deal was,
Hmm.
because the justification here is that, oh, she's a nature photographer, so she heard about this, I guess, and it's
Hmm.
like, or maybe she thinks it's some rare species.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I was at. But then she also has this part where she specifically asks, like, oh, he's going to be in the newspaper, is he? And they'll like tell a lot of people about it.
Yeah,
And
she's a
I
little
was like,
sus.
what? Yeah, I'm like, that seems suspicious, but I don't know why.
She also
I
noticed
couldn't.
the part where she leaves in a fucking limo. Like,
that,
that feels a little suspicious to me, too. Although I don't know that
I,
I noted that as a
yeah.
child.
Yeah, I didn't, you're right. I didn't really think about it. I was just like, I don't know. She has expensive, maybe she just got a spread in National Geographic and she's got that National Geographic money right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Uh, there's a, I'm going to start calling people this, maybe certain people we know.
Hmm.
I think they could use this as like
Hmm.
a good name, I think.
Hmm. Okay.
When Rachel's talking about how horrible this place is, and she
Hmm.
says, I mean, I'm not exactly Ms. Tree Hugging, don't eat meat, let animals vote. But come on, this sucks. That's a
Yeah.
good name for someone.
That's
Don't you
not a
think?
bad name for someone at all.
Ms. Tree Hugging, don't eat meat, let animals vote. And I like soon after that when Tobias says, I smiled with my human lips.
Yeah, the Tobias and X do have a lot in common here.
Yeah. Once again, another little love triangle there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh well, that's a little bit gross,
Also
but
problematic, but that's not the most problematic
it's,
one we've had so far.
I mean, they're not blood related, are they? Like,
Well, they
well,
uh
he had
hmm
different blood when he
hmm
had Tobias. That's
hmm.
not his native DNA in
It is
him.
not incest by technicality. That's
Yeah.
always what you want to hear.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's another short barn scene. If you want to pause to talk about it, we can. But they of course they decide they're going to go out and rescue Beck, right? Um, I can lump it in with this next action sequence if you want.
I don't know that I had anything to say about the. I'm sure I did, but I don't think we need to.
Okay, that makes. I mean, there's a couple fun things with them doing homework in the barn, but yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, they go out to Frank's safari land in putt putt golf. They kill the lights. Rachel busts in as an elephant, and Tobias goes in as Ket Halpak. But when they get in, Beck is already surrounded by controllers with like guns and Dracons. Um, Cassie and Marco come in, as Wolf and Gorilla, and a fight breaks out. There's like shooting, chaos ensues. Um, and Tobias grabs Beck. The Animorphs are getting like torn up by gunfire. Tobias gets shot in the stomach, and Visser 3 shows up, and he morphs into a caftid. Not to be confused with a caffit. This is a caftid, which is a green and slimy frog-like thing with 8 legs and a seahorse-shaped head with 2 big leathery wings that come out the back of its neck that spits super corrosive acid. So, Tobias is like standing off against Visser 3. Visser 3 spits acid at Beck, and Tobias rolls on top of him, gets hit like full force with the acid. It's like about to eat through his spine. So, in pain, he jumps into a nearby lagoon, where the shitty alligators are, to dilute the acid. But when he comes out, Visser 3 has taken Beck, and the controllers are all retreating, and the Animorphs are leaving too. So they failed to save Beck. Beck has been captured.
Rough.
Yeah, rough.
Well, hold on. Is that a dog in here?
Yeah, oh yeah, we might need to cut that part out. You might hear my dog.
um, yeah. Okay. Okay. This is like, again, a lot happens in this book.
A
There's a
lot
lot
does
going
happen.
on. This book felt, I don't know if it is longer than a normal book, but I feel like it took me longer to read it.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's just because I was thinking about it more or taking more notes, but it felt long, or maybe it's because we haven't actually read a book in a while and I
That could
forgot
be
how to
too.
do it. But yeah, it felt dense at least. But
Yeah.
anyway,
No, I think it's just dense. It's not super long, relatively by word. I have a graph of the word counts now, so I can check this.
oh, nice, nice. As we already established, Tobias doesn't want a fucking eagle. Even less does he want a fucking elephant.
Yes, no,
He
not
makes
at
it
all.
clear that when Rachel morphs into an elephant, it is not attractive.
Yeah. Uh, Now, speaking of Rachel here, you may
Mhm.
recall at the end of the last book, at the end of the last main series book, she said she was going to cut down on that bloodlust a little bit. And then in this scene, she's immediately just like, just wood. Doesn't this little piggy know he should build his house out of brick? Come out, little piggy, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll crush this dump like a matchbox. So she doesn't really sound in control here. She sounds a little bit more out of control, I would say.
Well, this is just property damage we're talking about.
That's true. Okay.
And it's this is a bad place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, perhaps her character hasn't fully,
huh.
it's maybe regressed a little,
Yeah, it's possible.
or she was lying to herself.
Yeah. I feel like in a lot of these fights, there's always some reason or other why they can't shoot guns. They're always like human controllers step back, Hork-Bajir in, and then they fight with blades. But in this fight, they don't do
Hmm.
that. In this fight, the humans just pull out their guns, and they kind of get like torn the fuck up in this fight. Like they're not like slashing and taking out guys. They're just like, oh fuck, I got shot in the stomach. Oh god, I'm getting shot. Oh Jesus.
Are there real guns in this? Because they
Yeah,
do often fight with Dracon guns.
they got Dracons and real guns. Yeah, no, Tobias is shot in the
Okay.
stomach with an actual bullet.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. No,
I
it's different.
so I just have to. I don't want to gloss over the part when Rachel is morphing into an elephant. And, it's described as she lumped and bumped and glooped.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm glad you circled back to that.
I'm sorry, but we were moving past it, and I really needed to say that she lumped and bumped and glooped.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Okay, now
very
we can get
much.
back into the fight and talk about the guns, please. Go ahead.
No, I mean that's most of what I just wanted to mention that they're getting
Yeah,
fucked here.
they
Um,
really do. Okay, first of all, they jump real quick to assuming this is a renegade Hork-Bajir. I thought they'd, at least for a second, assume it's a controller.
mhm,
Like, he doesn't even get the chance to try to trick him. They're just like, fuck
yeah.
this guy. Visser 3 to tell us he was coming.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Visser 3 is not racist. He immediately is just like, oh, that's Ket Helpak, who, he
Yes.
saw die, and he's just not concerned by the fact that he saw Ket Helpak die in front of him. He's just like, oh, look who it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he doesn't remember that specifically, but
Yeah,
I thought it was nice that he remembered her. It's kind of cute.
it is nice. Yeah.
It's nice. He's not just a dick. He remembers names and faces. That's how you make an impression as a boss and a leader. You remember names and faces. People
Yeah.
will appreciate that.
Visser 3 is the good leader.
Um yeah, he's a good leader. We do also get to see again, Visser 3 is just so fucking weird because
Uh-huh.
he just loves doing these morphs,
Mhm.
but the why? He shouldn't be it takes like 2 minutes to morph. It really seems like they could easily just run around him in this time. And I think they try to, and they say that like they can't quite get around him for some reason, but it just seems unnecessary for him to do this.
It's like powering up in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. You can't even appreciate the magnificence of this morph. It's called a caftid. Like you don't need to tell them the name of it. Who are you performing for, Visser 3?
He's a weirdo. He's performing for the other Andalites. He wants an Andalite audience. He wishes he
He's
was in a
so
stream.
dramatic. Yeah. Yeah, all he wants is for the Andalites to be like, this guy's pretty good. He's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
it's
I
true.
do want to know where this thing is from.
Yeah, they don't tell us that.
Oh well.
Yeah, but they do fix a little plot hole here because I was getting pretty worried about because the morphing technology doesn't really make that much sense, you know. But
Yeah.
fortunately, Axe explains in this section that DNA is actually very common in the universe, so it makes sense that our genetic material could be acquired the same way Andalites could. Right, because it's the same kind of DNA. It evolves the same, and it's very common that it evolves the same way. Because I was really worried about that. Because before I understood that, I thought morphing didn't make any sense.
I don't even remember this part.
He, there's a part where they say that. There is a part where he says it. I think they're in the barn, but
Oh, all right. Okay. Well,
I
that's
just
good
thought
to
it was a
know.
little dumb that he felt the need to clarify.
Sometimes Axe likes to clarify these things for us.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So the fight's over. Tobias back in the meadow. He's blaming himself for losing Beck on top of all his hawk shit. He's like, "That's my fault too." Axe shows up and says should keep watching Arya, and he seems kind of suspicious of her. They like watch her for a while. She seems normal, except she returns to the hotel every couple of hours to use the bathroom. But there's a little girl who's about to get hit by a car at one point where they're watching, and Arya like runs out into the street and knocks her out of the way of the car. And Tobias is convinced. He's like, "Oh shit, she's real. She's not a controller. This is not. I can't be suspicious anymore. I don't have an excuse." And he starts seriously thinking about maybe becoming human. And that night he goes to Rachel's room, and Rachel tells him that Jake thinks maybe they're holding back at that facility as a trap, the one that Toby said way back an hour ago. But more importantly, they talk about this Arya and Tobias turning human stuff, and Tobias is still very like unforthcoming about wanting to be human. Rachel like yells at him. She's mad that he doesn't ask for help and that he won't turn human, and he's mad that he's too weak to do his hawk stuff, and he's it's clear he's kind of on the fence. And we finally get like this like touching moment where they like express their feelings about their relationship. But Tobias just like won't commit to being human. At least out loud, he won't. And he goes to leave, but as he goes, Rachel is like, "Oh,
At
by the way,
least out loud.
yeah." As he goes, Rachel is like, "Your birthday's tomorrow, by the way, so we'll do the letter thing with the lawyer tomorrow." Okay,
Okay.
so a lot just happened.
I do. I'm very interested to read the next Rachel book to see if it follows the path now that has been established in this one, because
Hmm.
reading this I did find myself wishing I actually did know how Rachel felt about Tobias, and I
Hmm.
don't feel like I do, because
Hmm.
Tobias is like, oh, she pities me, and I'm like, does she? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck she thinks about Tobias.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, in this book, she doesn't feel like she pities him. She does say she worries about him, but I don't know that she pities
Yeah.
him. That feels like Tobias projecting like his old like, oh, everybody
Yeah.
doesn't respect me onto her.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're probably right. Um, and on that subject, here's
Hmm.
something else I want to say.
Hmm. Hmm.
She was a girl. He was a bird. Can I make it any more obvious? He hunted voles. She did gymnastics. What more can I say? He was a red-tailed hawk. She said, Tobias, can we talk? He wasn't hawk enough to eat. That's all I got.
That's pretty good. I assume that you're gonna edit the instrumental version of that into the.
Yeah, like I said, that was the other one where I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to do that, but
It's good. I think that one deserves the full length.
it
That could be
maybe
your
does.
next hit.
There was a literal line in here that said she was a. I didn't it say she was a girl, he was a bird, or like I swear to God, there's a line that is almost exactly that line. Some
She says, "What am I supposed to do, Tobias? I'm a girl. You're a bird."
yeah, there it is. It's funny. Anyway, okay, now, and this is they talk. I like this whole conversation is
Mhm.
again another big. This is a big relationship talk for these two characters.
Yes.
that up until now I feel like we've just been dancing around it. And going back to what I was saying before about kind of the progressive messaging in this, I found this fascinating when she says, "It's not like you're black and I'm white like Cassie and Jake. No one but a moron cares about that." She's like, "This is actually, this is more important than that." I just thought it was interesting that she brings up Cassie and Jake in that light, considering we have never really gotten a
Mm-hmm.
single whiff of racism in any of these books that I can recall.
Yeah.
Like there's no other than bird and alien racism. Like the fact that they are an interracial couple isn't even commented on, let alone like has anyone ever been, no one's ever given them a dirty look or something for holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that that's cropping up right here, and we also just had the Native American thing, and later on there we hear about Nazis and gays as well. We'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think I don't remember. Is this one of the questions we went over with KA, or did we not get to this one? Because in one of the questions, the like question and answers with KA Applegate, there's a part where she like nobody asks her this, but she unprompted brings up the fact that it's an interracial relationship, and she says one of the things that's made me very very happy writing this series so far is that not one person has
Mm.
written in angrily to say how dare you write an interracial relationship, because she was saying when I was a kid there would have been people would have been pissed about this.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, we did read that. Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah, because I think I wonder if that was something that she did because she was like, I want to do something progressive that's gonna piss off racists, and but I can still get away with. I'm not the publisher isn't gonna tell me no. Um, like trying to make some of the kids gay or trans or something in the late '90s, which wouldn't have flown. Like Tobias. Um, but like I guess clearly that wasn't as big a deal to people as she thought it might be, which is honestly a good thing. Um,
Yeah, I think that especially because these are kids' books,
yeah,
kids don't care.
yeah,
Like unless they are raised, even if they are raised by racist parents, like at 13, well, I guess I should say it's more likely that the kids who are reading these books,
hmm
whose parents are buying them these books, probably aren't racist.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I think that's probably, but it's not like you don't. We have like a modern wave of book bannings right now with angry parents.
Yeah,
Like, how dare you say the word gay in a children's book? Don't you
and
dare
there
put that
are
filth in my school. So
right, of course, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't. I forget where I was gonna go from there.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's probably something about a more progressive book, but it is
Oh,
it
I
is
was gonna
interesting
say
how many.
Kay
Mhm.
Applegate is clearly well, this is Michael Grant, I suppose. But I was gonna say from the other thing you said, we know she's an OG Star Trek fan, and that was also a big like Uhura on Star Trek was a big deal. The fact that there was like a
Right.
black woman, and they have I think it's the first like notable interracial kiss between her and Kirk on TV.
hmm
So yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
That
there
was
you
it.
go. Yeah, she's trying to emulate her favorite show, Star Trek.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh, now there's I don't know. Are we? How much are we talking? Or no, I do actually have something else to say about this Rachel Tobias thing. I think that Rachel doesn't know what she wants. Because this whole time she's like, "Oh, Tobias, why can't you just ask for help and be a human and blah blah blah." And to be perfectly honest, I think Rachel again, we will have to see if she ever explicitly says anything in her books, but it does feel like Rachel connects with Tobias because he's bad at expressing his feelings, because she's exactly the same. She cannot talk here. She is just as bad at like asking for help or allowing other people in, and I feel like she connects with him because of this like, oh, they're the same. And I feel like she wouldn't like him if he was like she's asking him to be here.
Yeah, now you maybe have a pretty good point there.
Which
I don't know,
yeah.
but didn't she like Tobias pre-bird, pre-Animorph? So don't we think? Cause remember, didn't she have like a photo of
She
him?
did. That's true. She did like Tobias pre-bird for some reason, although it's never really explored in any capacity.
She thought he was cute.
I guess she thought he was cute.
So maybe there's some. I think it's also should be. Sometimes you got to bring this back down to earth and remind yourself that these are 13 or 14-year-olds, and even like you were saying before about how Marco and Rachel wouldn't work together. It's like you got to remember these are like they like just went through puberty,
right? No, like
not...
yeah, no, I feel that like it doesn't, just because they wouldn't work doesn't mean they're not going to get together. It just means that maybe that wouldn't, yeah.
But also like they might work in like 8 years or something. You know what I mean? Like right, like nobody at this age is developed or functional.
I mean, that's
so
true.
Maybe it's I do think these books, because we're reading them as adults and because the books in some ways kind of they don't I don't know they treat them as, but certainly these kids are going through adult things, so sometimes I think I forget like, oh, these are just kids, because they do read so mature in that way.
And I guess when you're a kid you don't necessarily realize how undeveloped you are, so you are still like, well, you know, if they work together now, then they're meant to be together forever, kind of thing. Obviously.
Yeah, that too.
You know, that is a good point.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Did we get to the cat, or is that the next part?
When he eats the cat? I think I was gonna put this in the next part. We can talk about that now. Oh, before we move on to this cat.
Oh, I guess we didn't really talk about Arya at all. But maybe that's not.
I don't really have many things on that. Yeah, let me just finish up this section. First of all, I do think that I like that Tobias is like, I suspect maybe Jake made up this whole trap idea just because he wants to do an attack on this thing, right? He has no reason to think that Beck is there. I think he made it up because he wants to do an attack. And Rachel almost argues, but then she's like, no, you know what? I remember what he did in the threat and the solution. He probably would do something like that.
Yes, I do. That's a great subtle nod to his character development.
Mm-hmm. It's really good. I also like Axe's joke that he attempts, where Tobias asks him what's up, and he says, up is the opposite of down. Although, of course, those terms are meaningless outside the context of a distinct localized gravity field.
This is exactly the kind of, if you were ever a dorky kid in computer club or anything like that, you've heard this fucking joke or you've made it.
Yeah, he's trying so hard. He's getting there, I guess. If he can,
it's not even a dad joke.
Yeah,
it's worse than that.
If he can mimic a dorky 12-year-old loser who's not funny, he's funnier than most Andalites. He's getting into it.
Oh yeah, Axe would definitely, if he goes back home at this point, he would try to kind of make a joke, and everyone else would be like, God, Axe is so weird now. He's always thinks he's trying to say jokes. Like, what the fuck's up?
He's always talking about he misses these cinnamon bun things, these buns, and like, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, it can't be that good if he's like having a meltdown over there.
Yeah.
All right, so this cat, I'll do a quick Tobias. So Tobias is back in his meadow. It's clear that today's the day the other hawk's going to challenge him, and he's thinking about Arya. He's thinking about how he's convinced, and he thinks basically like, fuck it, I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do the human thing. I'm going to be human. I can't take this anymore. So he goes and he eats some roadkill, which is a dead cat on the road. Before going off to the last battle where they're going to save Beck. So we can pause before we get into this and talk about this cat if you would like.
I just all I wanted to say was I will never forgive Tobias for eating a cat. After everything that dude did for him, I just can't forgive him.
Listen, if it was okay for him to eat the raccoon, then it should be okay for him to eat the cat because it was already dead.
It's different. It's crossing a line. Sorry. Would you be okay if he started eating a fucking Labrador?
I mean, it was already dead. It got run over.
But I do feel like that is a line that these books wouldn't cross. Don't you think that there is definitely a difference? The publishers would be like, you can't have this child eat a golden retriever. This is fucked up.
I bet they could get away with it if they said dog, right? Like they didn't give like the breed of cat. Not that there are breeds of cat. They're always like that's a white one or whatever. But like
No, there are breeds. There's short hairs. There's Russian blue.
okay,
There's Maine Coons. There's
sure.
Munchkin cats.
They didn't say that he ate a
All
short
kinds
hair
of
cat.
breeds.
They didn't give the cat's name, right? Like I'm
Thanks.
sure if they were like I ate a cat named Mindy who'd been like smashed over the road, they wouldn't have done that. But
I recognized Fluffy McKitter.
oh jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
All right, so they go to the valley to explain the plan to Toby, and Toby is like, all right, well, you know what? If this is a trap, then like, fuck them, right? We're not just going to rescue Beck. We're going to raise the whole fucking thing to the ground. Like, the Yerks cannot be allowed to think they can use hostages against us, even if Beck dies. We're going to go in there and blow the whole fucking thing up because Toby's hardcore like that. So they march out a whole bunch of Hork-Bajir to fuck shit up. Yeah, there's some things to talk about in this particular section. It's
This
pretty
is
short
where
description, but
I really felt like Beck was. This is when Beck kind of was reminding me of a little Yoda,
okay.
a baby Yoda, if you will.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, just was giving out. Sorry, did I said Beck? I meant Toby, of course. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just just was doling out some wisdom, saying the point is to defeat the this part. I mean, she's a little bit vicious too.
Oh yeah.
She's kind of like Clone Wars Yoda more than Empire Yoda.
Yeah, Toby is not a peaceful, nice, like, wars not make one great type. That's not
No.
Toby.
But she does say a fool is strong so that others will see. A wise person is strong for himself. She uses the male pronoun, which, Toby, come on. What are you doing?
Yeah, now it's a weird construction because she doesn't say a wise man is strong for himself. She says a wise person is strong for himself.
Well, English is still her second language, to be fair.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what pronouns in Hork-Bajir. They may not have gendered pronouns, so maybe she doesn't understand.
They just use their names, it seems.
Yeah, that's true. Now, so there's some good Toby stuff, and this is also the part of the book where we hear about Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe isn't the first Nazi name drop in these books. I think there was another one.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I feel like there is. Yes, there definitely is somewhere.
Because I think I said like that's got to be the only time, and I think you were like, yeah, I bet there's more.
I bet there's more. Yeah. Now, it goes beyond that. So, like, there's a whole discussion about this where, Toby's like, listen, we've got to hit him back, whatever. And Cassie's like, well, that's a perfect justification for gang wars. And Rachel counters with, like, it's like World War II and the Nazis. And Cassie counters with, oh, yeah, what about Northern Ireland and the Middle East? Getting kind of controversial, but, like, yeah, Cassie, Northern Ireland and the Middle East. You know what? Fuck England, first of all. And any real world politics you want to ascribe to me based on the statement fuck England are probably correct.
Okay. I mean, personally, I'm an Anglophile. I do not endorse what he is saying. I love The Office, and I love Luther and Downton Abbey and the Great British Bake Off.
I like that one.
And tea. I like tea. I don't actually like that last one. Yeah, but yeah, it's getting pretty heavy here.
Yeah, it's like pretty specific in terms of like actual real world conflicts here.
And am I jumping ahead? Yeah, I am a little bit, but I'll just lump it in because again, just with my whole themes here of when they're talking about again the integration of Hork-Bajir and humans. And he says, hard to imagine humans welcoming 7-foot-tall goblins, again, goblins, into the local Boy Scout troop when they couldn't even manage to tolerate some gay kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fucking hard hitting for this book in the 90s again.
Yeah. No, they're very explicit in this book with what they're going for. It's not, there's no wishy-washying around here.
No, like I was shocked. I was taken aback by it. I was like, but in an impressed way, like, oh, They went there. They're doing it, man.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Kuda, like this book, feels again maybe like post Hork-Bajir. This was Michael Grant was like, fuck it, we're going there. We did it.
Yeah.
It worked. It sold. We're just gonna keep doing that track.
Yeah, or
I
at least he
guess.
is. That's for sure.
They also I like here when Tobias meets Fal Tagut.
Oh yeah, I love Fal Taggart. Fall to Goot works too.
No, maybe it's Fal Taggart.
I feel like I always pronounce Orc-Bajir names in the stupidest ways. Like, I'm never gonna. I'm not sitting here like Doc Hami or something. It's Dakami. Jerahami.
No, Jeremy, those sound right. I don't know. I feel like this one's got to be Fal Tagut.
I guess maybe.
Or
Maybe I'm doing
Tagut.
like the American pronunciation of a British name type thing.
You are.
Yeah,
You
my
are.
name. My name is Fal Tagut. Tagut, and I'm
I
like,
don't know why you
yeah,
made it
Fal Taggart.
British. Okay. It's bordering a little bit on offensive when you say it like that. This is the Hork-Bajir who Tobias previously clawed his face while he
Mhm.
was a controller.
Mhm.
And this is where we finally have it. Fal Taggart gives us explicit permission to not feel guilty when they are fighting against Hork-Bajir controllers. He's like, don't even worry about it. You did what you had to do. I loved being clawed. I'm happy. That's basically what happens. That's like
that is basically what happens.
it's all good. We're
like
cool now.
It would be nice to see this and like maybe have a realization that yeah, we should probably not kill these orcs so much. But yeah, no, you are
Nah.
right. They do give explicit permission. Although I
It's
do
fun, just-
I do like when he points to his scar and explains Fal Tagut say ah.
Those stupid fucking Hork-Bajirs. They're so funny, like stupid clowns.
I love them. I love my
They
Hork-Bajir.
are a bit more like Gungans, perhaps, than we have said before. I don't know.
Misa
boy.
Fal Tagut. Misa, your
Oh,
humble
boy.
servant.
Okay. Do you think Jar Jar was the seer? He must have been.
He must have been, yeah.
Ain't no other Gungans becoming senators.
That's probably why Boss Nass hated him so much. He was like worried he was going to take his position.
I mean, they did think he was the stupidest Gungan of them all. So maybe it's the opposite.
It could be.
Once in every generation, a really stupid Gungan is born. Okay. But speaking of Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
what we get next is basically the Death Star, right? That's how I read it.
I mean, sure, I suppose so. I had a couple more things to say about Toby
okay.
still.
I was trying.
You're trying to
trying.
end the episode. I know. I get it.
Yeah.
No, but I can't have a short episode here. It's just not possible.
Well, it's not. You don't have to worry about that. It's not short.
It sure isn't.
I'm just trying not to make it our longest ever.
I don't
maybe
think
it
there's
will be.
any getting out of that at this point.
Oh God.
All right.
I'm sorry, folks.
All right. No, but I like the contrasting Toby's sort of like where she says, Hork-Bajir must be strong for themselves so they can respect themselves. And there's parallels here with Tobias and his like obsession with weakness and strength. Like, is this potentially better because they're being strong for themselves rather than trying to be outwardly strong? Or is it similar because Tobias is clearly more like concerned with his own perception that because like he's just assuming Rachel will think he's weak, for example, for eating roadkill. I don't know. I like that little compare and contrast there. And I think that is explored a little bit more because Tobias does some thinking here where he kind of like comes to this realization that like, even as a human, there's this balancing act of like humanity and strength where like, yeah, sometimes you have to fucking kill Nazis and sometimes you have to be nice and turn the other cheek. So like he thinks he's so special by being half human and half hawk, but like he's not. Humans are also predators. Humans also kill to eat. We're not that different. So I liked that little through line there. I thought that was a good thing going on.
I agree.
Yeah. Do you also think that maybe because that maybe Jake is at a point in the series where he might have said, if Toby was a little less hardcore, he might have said like, "Oh, hey, Hork-Bajir, you can't leave the valley anymore because it's a security threat," like he tried to do with David. Because I feel like Jake is at that point, except that in this initial meeting, it's just immediately clear that if he said that, Toby would be like, "Well, then I'll kill you."
Yeah. What I'm thinking is they should be given all of these Hork-Bajir morphing powers.
Right? Or at least
They could really use it.
get Toby
Yeah.
on the team.
Yeah, Toby should be the new Animorph.
Yeah. That's our new Animorph fanfiction.
Hell yeah. All right.
All right. Big action thing happening. There's a big. They go in to this facility. When they get there, there's a giant like anti-orbital Dracon beams being pointed up, and it's being constructed. It's going to shoot down dome ships. Um, I don't know that it's fully operational, but their plan, they're going to like point it down and blow it up, blow everything up, whatever. Um, so they go in on, they send in a couple of Hork-Bajir to like fall into the trap. They ride him in as bugs, and get captured. They come out and start fighting. But then Tobias is scoping the place out, and Visser 3 shows up in a helicopter. And by Visser 3, I mean Arya shows up in a helicopter. Because Arya is actually Visser 3 in Morph. And upon realizing this, Tobias like crumples up into a little like depression lump and just lies on the ground wishing he was dead instead of while the battle rages around him. And it's kind of like the book version of the Battle of the Five Armies, where a big thing happens, but he just lies there until Toby shows up, and she's like, "Oh shit, we're losing. Everything went to shit. Everything's terrible. We need to retreat. I'm grabbing Tobias, and we're leaving." So they retreat from this.
Yeah, which I was kind of disappointed we didn't get to see the end of this battle.
Yeah, no, we don't.
I actually had to kind of rewind a little bit. I had to like go back and reread because the transition is kind of abrupt from like, I'm in a little ball. It's like, and we're back home. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What happened how'd they get out of there?
Yeah, they ran. They ran for it. Rachel carried him out in a bundle after Toby gave him to her. Now, this actually leaves me with a question that I have never had before this reread. I never realized that the book never explicitly says this. What happened to Beck? They confirm that Beck was at the facility and it was a trap. They have Beck at the facility. We never find out if they got Beck out.
Huh. Wow.
I want
didn't even
Beck
notice.
to be saved. I've never noticed
Beck
this before either.
I'm sure Beck is home safe.
I hope they managed to retreat with Beck.
Yeah, well, come on. If any of them got out, I'm sure somebody was carrying that little bastard.
I hope so. Like I said, I've never noticed this before.
Huh. Maybe a listener will tell us it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would make me happy.
Or if it's not, just lie to us so we can sleep better at night.
Yeah. Make up a sentence, say it's in there.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay.
So
Arya
Visser 3's
is Visser
Arya.
3.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I gasped comedically, and everyone thought it was real funny.
Mm-hmm. They did.
But this truly was surprising to me. I was fully during that scene where they're stalking her. They talk about her going to the bathroom all the time. I did not put two and two together. They have a whole side conversation about how girls use toilets, and I was like, this is gross. And it fully distracted me from what was happening, which is Visser 3 had to demorph every 2 hours. And I was like, oh shit, they fucking got me.
Yeah, no, as a kid, I did not pick up on that either. Like I said, I was like, very suspicious, but I did not notice the every couple of hours thing going on.
Yeah. Well, and also the Axe, when he sees her saving a kid And he kind of is like, oh, yeah, that definitely does confirm she's not a controller. And
Hmm.
he's clearly thinking, oh, it feels staged for our
Hmm.
benefit. Because Tobias is like, he said it in a weird way.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't he say that out loud?
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe it's because he just isn't sure and he doesn't want to dash his Shorm's hopes. But
Yeah, that must be it.
yeah, no, I mean, it is crazy though, because like clearly Visser 3 can be subtle, right? When the writer decides that he can be. Because like
Well,
he
yeah.
was just sitting here like, I have no idea if this kid is connected to the Andalite Bandits or not. But if he is, they'll probably spy on Arya. So I better go play her for several days straight, just live as this woman, and he doesn't blow his cover.
This is the craziest thing.
Like how does
Whether or not he's blowing his cover,
Yeah.
he's the one doing it. This is the leader of the entire Earth operation.
Mhm.
And he's like, everyone else, like, you've got your orders, just hang tight. I guess they have phones and shit, but
Mhm.
like he's just living as a human woman, having to demorph every 2 hours. When does he sleep? Does he like sleep in the bathroom in case they're watching? Like, how does he? Why wouldn't he just get some grunt to do this? It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to me.
It is crazy. I mean, clearly Visser 3 is very intrigued by this whole Tobias's real father situation. He wants to be personally involved, but yeah, it is insane. Like this is very not in character of Visser 3 that he could pull this off.
I'm wondering if maybe Visser 3 is a little bit. He kind of likes being a human woman.
Interesting.
I think he's having some kind of an awakening here. He's like
Mm,
looking at his hair in the mirror. He's going to Starbucks and shit, you know? Like
yeah.
he's enjoying this lifestyle.
Now there is a bit here, they write in the tell where she's going back every couple of hours, but they also bring up a tell that they wrote in, quote unquote, where they were like, "Oh, she checked her hair in the mirror."
Yeah.
Which clearly Visser 3 was doing, which again, but like, but they say like, oh well, if she'd just come back from Africa, she wouldn't care about how her hair looked, and that's kind of bullshit, right? Like if she were out in the African bush trying to do that, it would be like, that's what are you doing, lady? But then it's like she's back in the States now. Right, like she's not
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Africa anymore. She's allowed to care how her hair looks. Like that's
It's like
not.
yes, you would think with Tobias's love of Rachel, he would recognize that women can be multifaceted, but no.
Yeah. But they write that as like a, oh yeah, you could tell. Um
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's several more lines in here that I really like, but I'm not highlighting them because we don't have time.
all right. I mean, we can always make time, but I'm ready
No,
to move on if you are.
we
So
don't have time. Let's get to the end.
all right. So we get to the end. Tobias goes in alone while the other Animorphs do another attack on the facility, so that it's obvious that, oh, he's not associated with them. And DeGroot reads him this letter with Arya there. And Tobias finds out from the letter that Elfangor was his actual father. It's a letter from Elfangor to Tobias. But fortunately, Tobias is really, really good at not making facial expressions. So he manages to play it off like, yeah, okay, dude, but did he leave me any money? And they don't kill him, and he survives, and he tricks them. Uh, but obviously, this is a big revelation. Um, but he heads back to his meadow and he resolves his conundrum in kind of a weird ass situation. He kills the mother rabbit instead of the babies. And he like actively feels the shadow of death coming down on him the same way he always did, but this time he rides through it and just like feels his talons pierce his brain and kill him, and then he eats the rabbit. And then he morphs into the mommy rabbit, and now he's going to raise the bunnies, and he drives off the other hawk to protect them. And then he ends by visiting Rachel, and they have like a little birthday celebration, and it's sweet.
There's a lot. There's a lot to chew on here.
There sure is.
The first thing I want to say is that just occurred to me. I actually looked this up the other day. Did you know that the origin of some of these names I was curious about? Elfangor is actually Spanish for the Fangor.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So first, let's unpack the office here,
Mm-hmm.
the meeting. So
Yeah.
now we know. And again, this was up until this point, I was truly like, still like, this makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, it makes sense. A lawyer controller saw this name Elfangor in a
Yeah.
letter.
And was just like, what the fuck? Holy shit.
The craziest fucking
Yeah.
revelation.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine being that guy? Because
And
you always talk about how it must suck because you have to, like, if you were a lawyer controller, you do all your Visser 3 shit, and then you have to go back and read all your stupid legal briefs. Can you imagine you're doing that in Elfangor? Are you shitting me?
yeah, this guy better get promoted.
Yeah.
He should at least be a subvisor. Come on. And also, so the Elemist, in the Elemist's infinite wisdom, with his seemingly unlimited powers over time and all matter, he allowed Elfangor to write Tobias a letter that would be kept with his lawyer until his what birthday? 15th?
Let's
14th?
assume 15th because they're probably in the 14 to 15 range here, but I don't
But
actually know.
why? It would make more sense if it was like his 16th or his 18th. Why 14 or 15? Why?
Because Elfangor knew that Tobias, or I'm sorry, the Elemist knew that he would give Tobias's morphing powers back by the 13th book, and he knew that by 10 books later, he was going to have a crisis. And so to get him out of it, he was like, that's when the letter has to arrive.
Okay, he also could have just made this letter like appear in Tobias's room. He could have created a window through time so Elfangor could talk to him in person. Like, I don't know. Why is the Elemist getting the legal matters of humans involved in this at all?
Because the Elemist is not allowed to interfere, you see.
Right.
He doesn't interfere in matters of other species.
It's
This played out naturally.
Completely irrational. But yeah, and I don't know. He just writes, and also Elfangor's letter is just, it's so. If we didn't already read the Andalite Chronicles and like, or if Tobias also, Elfangor didn't know Tobias would be an Animorph.
No,
like,
he didn't.
He didn't know about any of this shit. So this letter that's just like, hey, by the way, I'm this thing called an Andalite, and it's like, if he didn't already have some foundation of this knowledge, he would just think he was crazy. He'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is what he's like in here. He's like, yeah, figures he was a nutcase.
It's the funniest, the weirdest, funniest letter to leave. It's just so not.
I'll leave
impactful.
that letter to my children. I'll tell my lawyer as part of my will to open it on their.
It should have been his fucking Harak Delest. Where's that at? Who's reading that?
Yeah, I don't think that's reached Andalite homeworld yet through Z Space.
Didn't we? I don't remember if this was cleared up or not. Wasn't there a moment where Tobias and Elfangor speak and we don't know what they said to each other in the very first book?
There sure was. And I feel I feel like they, at the end of the Andalite Chronicles, they like mention that, but I don't know exactly what was said there.
So this is not important. This does not come up again.
Yeah, I think that's the last time it comes up is at the end of the Andalite Chronicles, but I don't even remember to what extent it does there.
I thought was that, I don't know. I don't know if I thought maybe that's where the Harak Delest comes in, or maybe I don't know, or maybe there was some like, I wiped your mind, but I just wanted to talk to you one time or something.
I don't know, man.
Another fanfic to write. So, but and I love that Visser 3 though seems to have really loved Elfangor. He's like, he would be so disappointed in this child. He was a great warrior.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, after he needed some Andalite to obsess over, you know, he had Aldrea, and then he just kind of grabbed Alaran, but really it was Elfangor all the time. That's who he really wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like a Joker without a Batman right now. That's why he's latching on to these bandits.
I mean, maybe if Visser 3 found out the truth about Tobias, it would make him a better villain. Like maybe he'd be more competent if he was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, Elfangor's son is among them."
Well, he does know that his brother's there, or or does
I
he not
guess
know
that's
that?
true. I think he does know that.
I think Axe said to him maybe in Megamorphs 1 they had that
Mm.
confrontation.
Yeah, but maybe he's like, yeah, but his brother's a shitty heiress. His son.
Yeah.
That's I don't know.
Okay, so
Yeah,
again, there's a lot there. I mean,
yeah. There's like a little reverse Voight-Kampf there with Tobias can't show emotion or they'll kill him.
and you also gotta, you know, you gotta have the thought of like, what if he just went in there and just stabbed Visser 3 in the neck or something? Like, he could do it. She could be hugging him, and he could just like right in the neck.
Yeah.
But I guess it's too risky.
Yeah, I mean, he would DeGroot. I'm saying it wrong. DeGroot would probably like kill him, and then Visser 3 would just demorph, like he didn't do with the
Right.
snake venom.
Right. Well, that's why I'm like, you got to kill him instantly. It's got to be like he's dead, like you stab him
Yeah,
right in the brain or something.
yeah, yeah. Ice pick to the anyway. uh,
And then there's all this hawk shit.
yeah. Then there's all this hawk shit. And I guess this bunny thing is like a metaphor for riding the line between humanity and savagery or whatever. But it's like it's pretty fucked up because he's like what he's gonna now raise these bunnies as their mother so that he can kill and eat them later. I don't know.
It's very strange. It's reminiscent very much of the when he's raising the skunks too.
Yeah, except this lasts for a single sentence, so I didn't like it as much. I could use a
Right.
bunny book.
Well, presumably he's going to be doing this from now on.
Yeah, from now on, he only eats the parents, and he raises all the babies in his meadow himself.
The logic of this is that there is none. I don't understand this choice. It's so bizarre. But also we didn't even talk about it really. But there's a whole subplot that leads up to this. I don't know if you can even call it a subplot. It's kind of
Mhm.
part of this plot of where he's having these flashes where as
Yeah,
he's going to get his prey, he then feels like he's in the body and mind of the rabbit.
yeah,
And I guess it's just that's just like a device in his mind, but because this is Animorphs,
right.
I'm thinking this is really happening.
Yeah, no, you assume that this is like he's caught in a Sario rip or the Elemist has is transferred. But yeah,
Yes.
no, there's no explanation like that. He just, this is just a thing.
Yeah. It was just his trauma or anxiety or something coming out, or his guilt, I
Animorphs is
guess
just
is
weird like that, man.
yeah, so it's like okay, that's just what that was.
Yeah.
All
One
right.
thing I think is interesting about this is it's there's a bit in the construction that's sort of like a detective story ish, right? Like because we get to the ending, and then there's like a whole where he goes through the interview thing, and then there's a whole bit where you get like a wrap up chapter. He says, "Ah, so this is what happened. DeGroot found." Yeah, I keep saying DeGroot found this, and then
Come on.
I know. And then, Visser 3 did this, and then Arya did this, but then she messed up here. But then it spells out the hidden plot from you that they were at the very end in detail. So now you can know if you figured it
Uh-huh.
out. And they even like tell you, like, oh, here were the clues we dropped. She was doing her hair weird. She was there for 2 hours. Did you get them?
Yeah.
Kind of
I
fun.
didn't get him.
Little mystery solved for you there.
It sure is. So I think I liked this book a lot. I think it is well written, and I think it is very well. I know this sounds like a backhanded compliment, but I think it is very well structured and paced, like some of these later Animorphs books have been more
Hmm.
frequently. I think they have fallen into a better groove that doesn't feel rushed, and the balance of the different plots. Maybe partially because also this one deals less with other Animorphs, and it's more about just Tobias, which the Tobias books often are. I think in some ways tend to feel better in that on that level.
Hmm.
So I liked it in spite of it having some plot things that I don't quite get, and also I do think there is something about the writing, and
Hmm.
again I wish I could exactly say what it is, but Yeah, maybe it's some of it is that kind of socially conscious stuff creeping in there. Maybe again, it's just because this is a Tobias book, and Tobias always kind of speaks a little differently than the other Animorphs. But it does feel a little different. Maybe by the end of this season, we'll have a maybe better grasp if that continues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is definitely a book. I like this a lot better as an adult than I did as a kid. I think as a kid, I was like, yeah, I like it because it's a Tobias book, but like, it's mostly just another Tobias book. I loved all the Toby parts as a kid. I thought those were great.
Of course.
It was like as far as the Tobias Meadow thing, as a kid I liked it better in number 3, and I didn't really see how this was different. And I was like, oh, and then he finds out the Elfangor stuff, but I already like knew about that. But as an adult, I do appreciate the writing a lot, and I think that it's very distinct the way in which they handle Tobias's crises, and I'm very interested in it, and I like it.
I think that's maybe my biggest real complaint that isn't just like stupid plot nitpicking
Uh huh.
is I don't really the way that he actually gets the information to me is stupid. And it's now again, it's going to be another 10 books or whatever before we get Tobias again. So it's the same thing as the last Tobias book. Like we end right on a big transition or revelation for him, but then we're just not going to like talk about that. I'm assuming like I don't like how does he actually process that new information about himself?
Mm-hmm.
I mean maybe it comes up in the next book here and there. Maybe in the next Acts book it'll come up or something. But I don't know. It just feels like I'm ready for that. And now it's just we're done with that for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of frustrating.
Yeah, no, I feel you. More Tobias books.
Okay.
All right. I've been
This is
champing at the bit for some references.
well, don't worry. If you were missing the references from Hork-Bajir Chronicles, there's lots of them here.
Oh, excellent.
And I will do my best to speed through them because we are far over time and everyone's asleep. Here we go. Life in the Meadow isn't a Disney movie. Stop me if you have something to say or don't. Maybe I'm in a padded room in a row of other padded rooms full of nuts who think they're Napoleon or George Washington or Red-tailed Hawk. The lawyer's office is in one of those strip malls with a convenience store at one end and a State Farm insurance office on the other end. You know, one of those strip malls.
Right.
We all know those strip malls.
Pretty sure I have one. I'm not sure the State Farm's still there.
So unlike a good neighbor. Once again, we have capital D dumpsters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Take note of that.
Did you skip Taco Bell?
No, I was just about to say Taco Bell.
Oh, okay. I thought Taco Bell came before dumpster. I'm sorry.
I think
won't interrupt.
You might have missed a dumpster. Please.
I might have missed a dumpster.
Jake and Cassie were sitting on the outside benches of a Taco Bell, and it should be noted Jake is eating nachos. He's a nacho guy.
Mm-hmm.
There are Dorito bags behind the dumpster, among other detritus. And now this is big because we have a new dumpster here. I don't know if you picked up on this.
I'm not sure I did.
There's a capital letter here, the L in laundromat.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I see. I got confused what you meant with dumpster. Yes, I saw that. I did not look into it. I was wondering about it.
I looked it up. It was a trademark that it looks like the patent expired in like 1936 or something like that. But for some reason, Kay Applegate and Michael Grain are sticklers for copyright, and they want you to know laundromat was at one time a proper noun.
All right. Exciting new dumpster.
They say it a lot. Okay. We have Coke, Diet Coke, and we might have some Dr. Brown's cream soda. Mm-hmm. Dr. Brown sucks, by the way. Whatever. Tobias picks a Coke, in case you were wondering. He was so nervous in the office, you'd think it was Final Jeopardy, and the category was obscure modern poets. Oh, boy. Aria is staying at the Hyatt downtown, not the Marriott, the Hyatt. Mm-hmm. Rachel dresses him up for his interview and says, I looked like a poster boy for Tommy Hilfiger. Did she just buy these clothes new for him, I guess?
Her mom's a lawyer. I guess she just...
She doesn't have brothers, so it's not like they could have just taken Jake's clothes. Okay, fine.
No, not Rachel.
The signal for everything being okay was Tobias picking up a Mounds bar and putting it back down. As he's doing his chase, he sees a Speedy Muffler King. I honestly don't know what that is, but I guess it's a real place. And an Applebee's.
Mm-hmm.
Hork-Bajir, Tobias says, have the dopey, dim expressions of Teletubbies. Remember the Teletubbies fan fiction?
I do.
So how about that? Now we're bringing that back. The Horks think Tobias is George Washington. Marco says, Ben-Hur rowing that Roman galley while the guy whipped him and the other guy banged on that big drum got more downtime than we do. Marco also says, and I got to take issue with this one, our lives have become Nintendo games. We're always walking down some dark hallway with our blasters drawn, and there's an endless array of enemy guys, blah, blah, blah. When do we get to switch over to a nice, peaceful Riven? When do we get to turn off the joystick and just veg out with some HBO? It really feels like they are trying to make up for lost references in this book. I mean, it is out of control. Now, okay, this is absolutely something that the 40-year-old or whatever Michael Grant would write and not what Marco would say, because Nintendo games are not walking down dark hallways with blasters drawn. That's what you say when you're an adult who just says Nintendo instead of video game.
Yes. No, you're 100% correct on that.
I do like the Riven reference, though.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That's good. I wish they would have revised this one. So Marco could have said, when do we just get to veg out with some Max?
Yeah. We're doing a good job speeding through these.
Look, I'm sorry. There's some things that had to be said. I read once that Benjamin Franklin wanted the wild turkey to be the official symbol of the United States. Okay. They fly around outside Queen-Op laundromats or the drive-through lane at a McDonald's to find quarters. Don't start in with Thumper from Bambi or Peter Rabbit or the Easter Bunny, Tobias says about his eating rabbits. Thumper from Bambi, in case you didn't know which Thumper he was referring to.
Right.
And Rachel says, hey, there's nothing wrong with eating a rabbit unless he's named Bugs.
From Looney Tunes, of course.
She doesn't specify, though. Arya is channel surfing with her remote control and stopping at CNN. I guess I just now realized that that's Visser 3 watching CNN, keeping abreast of world news and politics. Sure. The Frank guy says, if I need a picture of the freak, I'll take a Polaroid. Okay, now this next one, they say that Jake, when he's being a good leader or being bossy or whatever, so Marco says he's just so patent. Like that was a movie as a real person too, but it was I don't know this movie. I don't know.
Pretty sure it was a movie. It's like italicized, so.
Yeah, I sort of remember that being a movie, but I don't know. I feel stupid if is it a real person though? Was there a general?
Yeah.
From fucking which war is that?
World War II.
Okay. See, I don't fucking know anything. It's fine.
I sure hope I'm right about that. Then I'm going to sound like an idiot.
I was going to guess like Revolutionary War or something. That's what Patton sounded old to me. All right. Fuck. No, hold on. Patton.
Oh boy. While you're doing that, I will bring up that we mentioned Peeping Tom, but that is a reference to the Lady Godiva story.
Oh my God. Fine. And you were right. It's World War II. Okay.
Thank you.
Patton. Like, I knew that somewhere. Look, I'm not a good student of history. I know that it was bad for the Jews. Okay. Tobias says, oh my God, I can't believe how much this is. I can't believe it.
You're almost there.
This is the end. No one's listening to this show anymore. Tobias is reading books as Hawk. And he says, I've read a lot of John Grisham and Stephen King and Nora Roberts. Okay, but he doesn't read full books, just some chapters because he can't turn the pages or anything.
Yeah.
Stephen King, Kay Applegate. Apparently, she doesn't like him from when we talked to her, but Michael Grant maybe is a fan. Real life turns out not to be like Star Trek. You know how all the aliens look like humans? Well, in real life, that's not the case. Okay, doesn't this little piggy know he should build his house out of brick? You said that before. Rachel says it's Dumbozilla, referring to her elephant morph. 2 references there. Both like you kind of, okay, it's fine. Now this one I was a maybe on, but he says as a Hork-Bajir, I was like that one new 3-blade razor. I don't know. I thought maybe that was a specific brand of razor, but he didn't say the name.
It probably was from some commercial they saw on TV, but
yeah, Gillette had that first 3-blade razor.
That could be.
their relationship way past Romeo and Juliet, Montagues and Capulets. This isn't Kate Winslet and Leo DiCaprio coming from different social groups or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this was post Romeo plus Juliet with DiCaprio also, so it could have had a double ref there. World War II, the Nazis, they send one of yours to the hospital. You send one of theirs to the morgue. That's the Chicago way. Sean Connery in The Untouchables. Marco does that impression.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie says, I thought you were doing Urkel. Rachel says, Marco is Urkel. I mean, he's not really, but it's funny. Boy Scout troop, we mentioned. He'd never heard Blessed are the Peacemakers or I Have a Dream or All Men Are Created Equal. Their weapon looks like a miniature Washington Monument. It's the equivalent of a human being leaping off a building 5 times the height of the World Trade Center. The Yerks have what looks like one of the backyard tool sheds you buy at Sears. Just want to be clear, that's SEARS. We're not talking about SEERS.
Right. No, okay. I was confused. Thank you.
Not just Patton. Marco also says Jake is getting all John Wayne, and that's not Gacy. Okay, this is just John Wayne this time. The blessings of the always insane Xeno warrior princess, and the last one I have here, racing around in open-topped Land Rovers.
Good job. I'm really proud of you for getting through all that.
Okay, I just think we end it. You can email us theyerkyboys@gmail.com. That's
okay.
it.
Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about book 24, The Suspicion in Which Cassie Turns into an Anteater, on the Yerky Boys.